Well, good night. I know it's a minute and a half into this game. I have my stuff organized yet, but don't worry, we'll get there. Tonight is budget, and after budget, COVID, Trinidad and Tobago in general, Saturday night, we lime in. Just want to inform everybody. I hope somebody joining. I'm down. Hey, 10 viewers. Thanks, guys. Thing going. How's your Saturday night going? I ain't seen no comments yet. I ain't seen nobody tonight. Tell me if you hear any songs. Tell me if you hear any audio. Tell me what's your name. Tell me anything. Because waiting for everyone to show up. If nobody shows up, I'll be talking to myself for a little while. Share the live, as they say. Not supposed to play that.
I warning to them fellas and them when they in the fed. Look cut off for one and this cell phone. Look cut off for one and this cell phone. Look cut off for one and this cell phone. Look cut off for one. Why? I see a price like lash up on me. In the middle of a wine with a squeeze body. I don't expect home.
Budget tonight. What you expecting? What you thought of the new cabinet? I'm waiting for you. Don't hit like, hit share. Don't after you hit share, leave a comment. I'm waiting for the posse, but the posse ain't here yet. I hope the posse get the link.
I was cheating on the girl, I was just being friendly. I was walking out the dance and it's a woman's party. I don't lie and tell the girl I get along party. My only clue is to me, oh Lord. I see a price like a lash up on me. In the middle of the wine with a sweet party. I told her baby home and she waiting on me. In the pussy. Stop short, stop short, stop short.
Hey, Renee, you coming in the live? I'll send you the link. Renee. Join.
I am getting a speech feeling in the head and belly. By this time I reach the gate, look up in my gallery. See them pack up to leave, oh Lord. I see a price like a flash up on me. In the middle of a wine with a squeeze that here. I told this baby home and she's waiting on me.
What do you expect from the budget? You like the new cabinet? All right. I will post the link. It's possibly late, so I'll invite the entourage. Hold on. Join the stream. Aye, that's the link. Come in. Come in when you're ready. The real people with the real TV station watching. How you going, Inshan? Inshan, there's the link. And you can log in. Or send your spokespeople. Because we did this a couple days ago. We're not a regular operation. Watch this. COVID, boy, COVID. Inshan, we're asking the question. What's going on with the budget? And do you like the cabinet? Is the cabinet up to your standards? Oh, that's better. I can see myself now. Very possible. I sent out the indication we want to stream, but nobody coming. If you want to join, there you go. And Shan, playing a song about rum. You see how bad we are? I have a promise. Somebody coming. But he busy. Like I should have done like last time and start at 9 o'clock. Apparently 8 o'clock is too early for some people. But this is the chance for the independent individuals. Click in. You click below. Aha. Somebody here. Peter. Peter reach way. Peter had to go get a headset. Let me mute the music. Yes, it works. Talk to me, Peter. Can you hear me?
I'm hearing you loud and clear now.
And I'm hearing you loud and clear too. What's your thought of the cabinet?
The cabinet was interesting. Not too many changes. No real surprises there. No imagination. I wasn't expecting any vast changes.
Oh, you could say that.
Well,
tell me
they have to bring
what just surprised you.
Outside. They lack the capacity on the inside. We understand that.
They brought people from the outside.
They didn't bring anybody from the outside. They should have. They could have done with bringing in some people with capacity. I would have liked to see maybe Yetming or Brian or one of these chaps come in and give them some financial advice. They've never been very good at managing money in the PNM.
Yetming? You sure you got that name right? Is that what I heard?
Brian Kwaitung would have done better. Yetming would have done better. Many of them would have done better than who we have.
In the PNM?
Always. The PNM have only been able to manage when they've had huge quantities of energy sector revenue.
Hold on a second.
When they have money to throw at people, they'll be having to manage with small amounts of money. The only one who was very good at that was Brian Kwaitung under the Pandey administration. He managed on 10% of what we're earning today.
So you think the PNM would give them a another chance, especially as they were in the other administration?
Well, it's not a question of giving them another chance. It's a question of having to use the expertise that is available in a small island. We know the PNM are very selfish. They would not give these people a chance. I'm just throwing it out there. But what I'm saying is that they really should use the small group of people that we have in this island more effectively and not simply look at partisan politics. Remember, I'm from the NTC. We believe in coalition politics. We believe that we should use any resource that is available.
I've lost Peter completely, but we'll try and bring him back.
You getting me now?
Huh.
No? Okay.
It's better on that side. Peter, I hope you're not on your data plan. I hope you're on the home Wi-Fi.
No, we're on solid Wi-Fi here. We're on solid Wi-Fi here. There should be no interruptions. You hearing me now?
How you going, Sharon? Long time no see. We're talking about the budget. Just while we see if I can get Peter back in. No, that's the connection. His side. Sharon, we at home. We chatting. We liming. What is the upcoming budget? What goodies? Yeah, Trinidadians always like goodies. There's always like goodies in the budget. What could you possibly have in the budget that's a goodie? Goodies aren't supposed to be in the budget. It's supposed to be how much money you spend to run the country. Now, we've never had this technical difficulty with a guest, so I'm left to ramble. Sharon, if you want to join, I see Sharon. Juliet Davy. There's the link.
Are you hearing me again, Nigel?
There's the link. I'll probably try and send it to your phone. I don't know if you still have my number, if I still have yours, but if I do, I'll send it to you. Peter was saying he was bad talking people. Then he was calling UNC ministers of finance. So thought that was unusual. But you never know.
Talk to me, Nigel. You hearing me?
Sharon.
Nothing?
At TV. I wonder if I kick him out and bring him back in, if that will work.
You hearing me now, Nigel?
All right, Peter, I'll kick you out. I'm going to tell you come back in. Oh, Julia just wants to listen. Kick out this thing. Click the link to get back in, Peter. Well, Sharon, I can't talk too much to myself. I don't know how. But there you go. I've been promised. I have a promise from the candidate for Couva North, the losing candidate. Winning candidates don't come and answer my phone calls, but thing. So we're waiting to see. Comment below. What's your thought of the cabinet? Hey man, Kishan, what's your thought of the cabinet? Who's your favorite cabinet member? Or if you're feeling brave, Kishan, click in the link below and you can join in the stream. My light in here giving a little problem, but I'm gonna fix it, make it work. We are 11 days since the election. I'm not asking anybody about the recount. If you want to give your opinions on the recount, that's your business. The UNC was entitled to their right, and they used it, and they recounted, and they got the count they wanted, and they conceded. There was lots of talk about margins and stuff, and the EBC TFWE, and etc., etc., etc. But as they say in the place, we won't get into that. Hey, I got 4 likes on the stream already, boy. Small man, just take them numbers into consideration. PT, that's good. Saturday night. So what you okay? Maybe you all don't want to talk about the budget. Maybe you all don't want to talk about the comment. Don't want to talk about the cabinet. So where are you, Lyman? I'm really curious as to the budget. Most importantly, I want to see what the public is going to do, mainly with TN Tech. I don't think they ever interfered with TN Tech. I don't think they ever did anything untoward with TN Tech. So, well, that's a good Miss Davy, where Peter gone? Peter was giving a little connection problem, so I topped him out and I put him back in on the thing. Ooh. Kevin Ram's like devaluation nightmare. Okay, move that comment because we don't. Nobody wants devaluation. I guarantee you that much. The new cabinet setup is quite fair, but the countless madness with the UNC is the worst. I don't agree with Mr. Hines' portfolio. Should have been given to someone younger, but let's see how it goes. Laddie, what exactly? Remind me again, because he swore in last. When I was watching the President's House thing, he swore in last. What was Fitzgerald Hines' ministry? Ministry of, is it Youth Affairs? Look, I don't have been talking to myself. Click the link below and join the stream. But budget come in and all you're frightened, right? Like maybe all you're having your last lap. Oh no, you can't have your last lap because all the bars close and all the cinemas close and all the bars close and all the cinemas close. What? Ministry of Youth Development. Somebody tell me, what is the Ministry of Development? Or what should be development? I'm back. Because like, or everybody on thing. Ministry. Okay. Like you're working there. You get a job in the ministry. I'm still here. I think they put it up. I wonder if I pay my bill, boy. I wonder if I pay my bill. And they restricted my little oomsie little data package. Anyway, so yeah. Cabinet is a little bit, it was hanging in new development, but I should have been in something else. And a young person should take youth development. Laddie, do you have somebody in mind? You want to call a name? No, it should not have been given someone who can't. That's an interesting statement, Laddie. It should have been given to somebody who can relate to youth. Why do you think Mr. Fitzgerald Hines can't relate to youth? Is it because he's old? I don't know how old Mr. Hines is. So he's been in Parliament a long time, you know. He's been in Parliament a long time. I don't think he's wasn't he the PNM youth officer at one point? Was there an internal election and they had Mr. Fitzgerald Hines as the youth officer? No? Maybe? Once again, restructuring my lighting. Should have Mr. Oops. One along. Oh, my mouse. Nothing's going right tonight. My guest won't come, and the youth officer is Mr. Hine, one of my favorite, but that's how it goes. Youth development. I don't know what that means. I don't know what the Ministry of Youth Development could possibly mean. Young people tend to connect better with individuals they can relate to. Peter's back.
So, are you hearing me loud and clear?
Hey, Peter. I'm hearing you loud and clear. Right. So we've been having an argument today with our comments. Somebody doesn't like how let's see. Laddie said, I don't agree with Mr. Hine's portfolio. Should have been given to someone younger. And I asked what portfolio he had. Apparently it's the Ministry of Youth Development. He said, went on to say Peter seems to find that statement funny, but we'll get to it. Should have been given to someone who can relate to youths. Mr. Hine's one of our favorites, but better work out. And the last statement was, young people tend to connect better with individuals they can relate to. So that's what you missed.
Oh, dear. Well, I can understand that. Young people have to be engaged in the political arena. They really have to be brought into the front of everything because we won't be around for much longer. And the difficulties that we have right now need change managers. They need a whole new paradigm shift of thinking, a digital technology age, a no contact age, a machine age, a technology age, something which we cannot envision as yet. We are going to have to all live in a theoretical bubble or biosphere or whatever you want to call it.
A dome? Did you say a dome? Now. Oh, what was that? A biodome?
I did not say a dome. I wouldn't use that word. I wouldn't use that word. I'm very careful of the connotations that has. But I'm sure the young people can think of some term that may be acceptable to all in terms of physical separation and getting the job done at the same time. We have to have a new paradigm shift. Now, the budget that comes up, it'll have to be something that helps all of us separate ourselves from our normal way of doing business. I'm looking to this society, this comment here that the budget coming, there's nothing to be worried about. There's a lot to be worried about, and you won't have the same billions from the energy sector that you had in the past to throw at the public and to cover the 33 billion in recurrent expenditure. They're going to have to look at minimizing government, not maximizing government. I see this budget coming up as where they will possibly put one or two of the utilities on the chopping block. I see this budget as one where there will be a lot of belt tightening in the public service, perhaps even in the teaching service, in the police service, in the Coast Guard, even in the health service, in certain specialties. Not everything is necessary anymore. With technology, we can get rid of a lot of people in the public service having cheaper, leaner government. If we don't have $33 billion to spend on government, we could cut that down to 10% of that if we had to. Most countries that are 200 and 300 times our size have less government than Trinidad and Tobago. Having 70% of the economy being run directly by the government, from Cal to Port Authority to the jails, everything is owned by government, is really very expensive when you have no energy sector to fund it. It's all right being socialist when you have a huge energy sector where you can just throw money behind 1 million fake job programs, forestry divisions, WASAs, TNTECs, TSTTs. But when you don't have the money, you have to think outside of the box and you have to sell some of these things. Margaret Thatcher did this in the 80s and was very successful in re-engineering the UK economy. Things like Treasury Division were converted into a single server with one security guard to look after the server. So we go from 8,000 employees to one employee in one day. I see some comments here. Correct, Peter. We're in the age of technology. Laddie Mix Pie. We are definitely in the age of technology, and our youths embrace this technology. Heinz may not be the right man for the job, but the youths, we could bring in young people as young as, well, I would say from 18 and up, to help us work out what is needed. We don't know what is needed for the next 10 years. They do. I see we've lost Nigel for a minute. But we have to make changes that adjust in a rational way. If we have people who are working CPEP, for example, that might not be the best way or the best use of this particular human resource. Something in the line of local tourism might be better. We could have them re-engineered and retrained as tourist guides for parks, what we call national parks, where we could have a national park system where people could have holidays at home.
Thanks, Peter, for holding on the fort. Joel, can you hear us?
I'm seeing Joel. I'm not hearing him.
Joel, is your mic on? No, his mic's on. Yes, we're hearing him. I can hear him moving his phone, so he's obviously not hearing us.
Could be.
Anyway, well, we got out of technical difficulties. Yes.
I'm hearing you. Yes, hearing you, Joel.
Hello?
Yes, we're hearing you.
Joel.
Yes, we're hearing you. So, let's see. What did I miss out?
Hear me?
While I was gone. Yes.
Hey, you hear me?
Yes, we're hearing you. Are you hearing us? Yes, we're hearing you. Yes, we're hearing you.
Yes, we're hearing you.
Let's see if we can
okay.
work out the
Good.
kinks.
Well,
About technology, right?
We're hoping the young people can fix this technology.
Continue.
So that it works.
Sorry for being late, but you know, it's had a very hectic day today. So go ahead. I'm listening.
there are other ministries dealing with youths and headed by a young minister. I think there's something in particular that the PM wants for young people, hence this new ministry. People not paying attention. Remember, before the election, he had set up a task force, so I believe there's a new vision. Oh, I'm back. So, Joel, what were you expecting from the cabinet? Not reshuffle, but the cabinet, the new cabinet.
Is it just three of us?
For the moment, yes.
I've only seen myself.
There's three of us, yes.
I'm not hearing anything.
Three so far.
You're not hearing anything. All right.
Okay. I was just wondering. Hey, all right, Nigel. I see you
hearing us now.
Okay. So, what were you expecting from the cabinet when you saw the cabinet swearing in?
Yeah.
Who's your favorite cabinet minister now after the reshuffle or the reinstatement, depending on how you want to refer to it? Take it?
Joe?
Yes, take it.
Well, to be honest with you, I really didn't see anything different, eh? I didn't really see much different.
The Prime Minister is the same. The Prime Minister is the same. The Minister of Finance is the same.
Is what I'm very happy to see is the change of the Minister of Education, right? So that's something that I was very happy to see that there's a change. But you know, hoping for the best.
I would agree with him with that. That's a big improvement.
Was Mr. Garcia so bad? Was Mr. Garcia so bad?
People like me remember from the tutor days. So he left a very bad taste in the mouth of teachers from that time period.
Sorry, I didn't get that.
Tutor.
When he was the head of tutor,
We having some signal issues.
he wasn't
here.
so popular.
Is it? Because I'm not really getting.
So teachers were not in favor of Mr. Garcia, so to speak, at the time. They were not very happy with a lot of his policies. At the time, we had lost a lot of our salaries, our cost of living allowance, and all of these things. So we were very displeased how Garcia handled our affairs. But Garcia, we're glad to see him go from this ministry. We need somebody more effective and somebody who can lead us into the video age of teaching, where all classes will be online. We know in the future this is going to be online for 4 years. And we're going to have a lot of retraining, particularly for the older teachers, so that they can use Zoom to teach. So we're going to have to find, somebody who's more innovative than Garcia.
Not to ask you your age, but what years was Mr. Garcia in tutor?
Oh, we're talking about back in the 80s, the mid 80s. 84, 85, 86, I believe.
35 years ago. You hold a grudge for that long?
Definitely. Definitely.
All right. I didn't follow on. Let me see. Who was the Minister of Education before? Tim Gopi Singh.
Time would have been. But I'm talking about way back in Bunny Padmore days.
Oh,
that's a little bit of time, I guess.
A whole generation of teachers have started teaching and retired since then. I think you have to do what, 33 years in the teaching service, and you can retire with full pension.
That is correct. I have done that.
33 and a third. What did you teach?
Yes, I've done my 33 and a third. Yes.
But what did you teach?
I started at 18 years of age. Yes. And I was a lecturer at 20.
Okay.
So I was a department head at 44. So I've had a number of years in the education system, but I always had a number of years before that in industry. So I have a varied background in a number of industries. So I'm familiar with the characters who have passed through the system. I believe we're looking at old metalwork and woodwork teachers like Anthony Garcia. And what we need are computing and technology, information technology teachers coming to the forefront. The time for the hammer and the chisel and the hacksaw and the spoke shave has passed, right? We're looking at people who can speak numerous computer languages, people who are versed in C+ and Java, not people who are C+ in filing and hammering and sawing. So we're looking at different generations.
Well, you want your students to be C+ and Java compliant, yeah. But I mean, we had to work a bit more on our programming. Oh, Juliet doesn't agree with you. Said not true. Anthony Garcia left tutor at the top of his game. He was the only of the few left his mark despite his age. So I don't.
I'm just falling off the couch here.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I know nobody would agree with everybody, but I mean, whatever happens, thing. I think we got Joel back. Joel, you're back. Welcome back.
So that was my fault.
Oh, well, don't worry. We missed you.
Yeah, I have two different internet suppliers there, services, and had the slower one on. So.
I wish I could be as wealthy as you to have two internet providers.
I would call it wealthy, Sometimes you get stuck with something when you're on a contract.
you're running on the contract on one. Okay. You're stuck then. Where you going?
Yep.
So we were about talking Miss Anthony. We were discussing all the reasons why Miss Anthony Garcia is gone, but he's gone now, and we have our new minister. Who's the new minister of education?
I can't remember her name now.
This
Testing
young lady,
you.
I forget her name.
I don't have my producer notes here because I'm the producer.
That's my laptop.
Good.
But anybody will be better, so not to worry.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah,
agree
oh,
with
yeah, really?
I agree with Peter.
Oh, you really have it out for the poor. Oh, you really have it out for the poor man. The man did his best what he could do.
No, he shouldn't even be there.
If I'm old, he's a dinosaur in front of me, so I don't know if he outlived his usefulness.
Peter, I feel like I'm gonna be arguing with a lot of things you said today, boy.
But no, we really have to have young people in the system.
Well,
let's start with the 18-year-olds.
The 18-year-olds. So there's no hope for people like me anymore. Hey,
I don't think there's any hope for all of us. We have to really let people start a whole new generation of thinking and an enormous paradigm shift. Right? Mm-hmm. We are dinosaurs to them. Even if we pass 30 years of age, Nigel, we are considered old by today's youth. How they view the world and how we view the world are completely different things. They think we've just messed up everything. They think we've destroyed everything. We've destroyed our environment. We've destroyed the food chain. We've destroyed the animal kingdom. They look at us as crazy people. You know, they don't take us too seriously anymore. Especially now that we've let a COVID pandemic over on the entire planet, right? And they see that basic freedoms have been eroded constantly, just a little bit at a time, piece by piece by piece. Eventually, you find yourself living in a state where you have no freedom at all, and this is a dangerous situation. And they really like their freedoms. They want to go online. They want to go and party. They want to go to the beach. They want to go to the river. So they are finding it very, very difficult to come to terms with a disease that has taken over the world, but it mainly affects older people. It doesn't affect the very young so badly, but they see it as an imposition to have to wear a mask, to have not to go to the mall, not to go to the cinema, not to go to the bar, not to go to the nightclub, not to go to the beach. There's a big imposition for them. So for them to adjust to that is very, very hard for them. They say, why should we do that just for these old people who, they're going to die anyway? That's how they look at it. I mean, I've got lots of very young friends, and trust me, that's how they look at it right now. They think, well, it doesn't matter too much.
Well, grandma and grandpa, when this is over, grandma and grandpa will be some sense into them, I hope, in the post-COVID environment. Because do you think young people generally don't care about others, or do you think it's just they care about themselves? Or because certainly, I would have grown up with some understanding that this is the way it is, and we need to protect those weaker than ourselves. God makes us strong only for a little while,
Well, the numbers on the beach don't say that. The numbers by the river don't say that. The numbers by the bars don't say that, Nigel.
Well, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know how to respond to that because I was brought up on a different code of thing. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, or the needs of the few may outweigh the needs of the many. But you have to decide what you're doing. But I thought as a group effort, we may find that COVID restricts your life expectancy down to 40 or 50 in a few years. You never know the long-term effects of a virus like this. There was a study not too long ago that.
If we look at a mathematical model, right, this is almost a perfect euthanasia machine having a virus like this on the public. Because as it's a cold virus in essence, you only get immunity for 6 months to 1 year. So it will continuously erode much like a file or a hacksaw on the end of a nail, continuously making the nail blunter and blunter. So or for example, you could consider a tree growing up, and if you cut 2 feet off the tree every year, and the tree grows 2 feet every year, you're constantly topping the tree. So the population is constantly having the top chopped off, and will constantly have the top chopped off for the next few years. And colds, if you know colds, none of the colds have ever had a successful vaccine. There's never been a cure for the common cold or for the flu virus. Yes, they have flu vaccines, but they only last for that particular flu. Now, flus mutate and colds mutate, and we expect this virus to mutate. It hasn't done in a major way yet, but it most probably will. So if it mutates every year for the next, I don't know, 10 years, it will constantly cut the top level of the population. It will weed off the sick, the weak, those with pre-existing conditions. So we're going to see a whole younger population without this burden or overhead, without this pension bill, if you like, without this NIS bill in the future, without the old age people's homes. If you go to Sweden, all the old age people's homes are empty because they let the virus pass through their system without any checks or balances, and they got rid of 5,700 people, and they drank their beers and ate their cheesecake and went to the cinemas as normal.
It certainly, well, I mean, it didn't reflect well upon grandma and grandpa, as I say. Let's say what. So we expect this to go on for some time. Anyway, schools are closed until September. That's a unique move, at least in our country, because schools are open around the world. Do you think that was a bad idea? With your expertise as Minister of Education?
I think I think they should reopen the schools, but the problem is what age group of teachers you allow in. Now, I say yes, reopen the schools, but you don't have any teachers older than 45 in the schools, or anybody with any pre-existing conditions teaching. Right? You have to pension off all teachers over 45. Look at it from a different perspective. We're looking at it from the perspective of the students. We have to look at it from the perspective of the staff. Now, there's a lot of young people who want jobs. There's lots of UE graduates every year. You've got a large pool of respected young people. Make the average age of a teacher 18, not 58. So anybody's 58, you say, well, look, here what's going on. You've got 2 years to go before retirement. You could go home now. It will save that person from interacting with potential carriers. So you have a lot of people who, could go home a little earlier and create avenues for younger people who are technologically more literate could come in.
But that's a
That would
happen.
be my solution.
You need to introduce more technology within and technological learning within the school system, because it's something that has to move hand in hand, because we still use a lot of the old way of teaching in the school system, right? And not by just saying let the older heads retire, and bringing new blood because of the new technologies and whatnot. If we don't have the technology exist in school, then it wouldn't really make sense, right? So you need to have that technology existence within the school system be utilized in order for that to actually really make a change and make a difference, But I understand what you're saying. You really need that. You really need technology to be a major player within the school system if you want to move towards a more technological society. There we go.
Well, if schools are now carded... Go ahead, Peter.
I have friends who are still teaching in the system who are 58, 59 years of age. And they're not too keen on having to go to learn to teach online, right? That's what I'm saying. It's knowing
Right.
people within the system. Now, a younger person is going to pick up teaching online, and within a few years of doing it, they're going to think it's normal. But for somebody who's taught with chalk and blackboard and photocopies, it's going to be a big change for them and a challenge for them. And it might be too much of a challenge for some of them.
Yeah. I understand that. I understand that. But I was telling something. I know you mentioned about opening up back schools and having, normal school days from September onwards, right? My take really is not that. My take is back to the same you're talking about there, utilizing the online learning systems, right? Because you really don't want to have, you really don't want that spread within the school system because children is children. They're going to sanitation is not the first thing in their mind, you know. So in terms of spread of the coronavirus, it's possible that it will spread faster within these school systems, especially with the younger children and stuff, right? So I still think keeping the schools closed till probably January at least, just to make sure the thing is out of the country itself. It might be the best way. And in order for that to happen and no child is to be left behind into the schooling, then in that case, the teachers that is like 57, 58 grade up, they really give them that opportunity to retire early if they choose, right? And bring in those younger heads who could utilize the platforms to teach and to share the education with the wider public, the children within the country. So yeah, I agree basically with what you're saying there. There's one quiet. Nigel, I'm not hearing you.
Yeah, well, I had mute my mic while I think. So let's pick a fight that everyone really likes to love. What you all think of the return of Colin Imbert?
The return?
Yeah, he's returned to the Ministry of Finance.
Well, he did some things right, and he did some things incredibly wrong. I would agree with him on the Petrotrin issue, right? That's the smartest thing he's ever done, right? Closing down Petrotrin, something that had to be done since 1986. They should never have purchased it in the first place, and to allow it to become so swollen with 5,000 employees plus, when it only needed 400 and something when Texaco was running it back in the 80s, is the smartest move he's done. It's a very inefficient, very old refinery, and it was swallowing up most of the forex. So if you have one industry like Petrotrin and using all the resources of the national gas company, keeping it afloat, it didn't really make much sense. So I agree with Imbert there. Where I don't agree with Imbert is him putting huge amounts of money into so many other projects, UTT, which is basically engineers for export, where you have just a couple of hundred students and it's costing you on average, $3 and $4 million per student, where you used to produce, 50 or 60 students for less than $100,000 with the old Technical Institute system. We've really, gone from a system of sensible budgetary expenditure to one of any sector largesse, simply throwing money behind huge projects which have absorbed huge amounts of capital that we no longer have. We've thrown money behind the Chinese. We always have Chinese contractors building this and that and the other for us. Hospitals, bridges, overpasses, you name it. Things that could be done locally. Although, they say we're too lazy to do these things. But really and truly, these things could have been done locally by local contractors at a fraction of the cost and the cost of no foreign exchange whatsoever. Right? We've just basically behaved in a very spoilt manner, given ourselves a huge foreign debt that our grandchildren will be paying off, and indebted ourselves to the Chinese, who now own most of our assets. I mean, Colm probably does not understand that giving the Chinese this type of leverage will mean that they can seize our assets in the future if we can't pay. And if our energy sector is down, for example, now the Holder Point leases is practically out of action, how are we going to pay in the next 4 years? If we renege on these debts, what's going to happen? That's how I look at it.
You think Colin don't know that? I think he knows that, that if we cannot fulfill our debt, that the Chinese will be able to seize up, certain assets and within the country and have a control over it. But
It's happening in
it
Africa.
comes down to huh? It comes down to somebody to really have a proper plan going forward with this country in terms of finance. Point Lisa, this is my area here. I live walking distance, about 5 minutes away, right? Point Lisa is literally not really functioning. It's under 40%, I would say, functioning right now. And even the businesses around it is even still suffering also. A lot of businesses closed. There's a lot of closure of small businesses within the area, like California especially. Malls are empty, but if there's nothing that is done to encourage investments and to revive the industrial estate, and we have no additional revenue source that will generate that level of revenue for this country, then we might as well just give it to the Chinese because they're going to take it.
Wow.
I wasn't going to surrender so quickly to the Chinese. I was going to at least give them a bit of a fight.
No, we could, we could. But if our heads don't put up a fight, we're giving it to them, right? We're going to give it to them.
I see there are opportunities in other areas.
There are so many opportunities.
Yeah.
Well,
if I'm going to give them all my ideas, then it might help.
They've taken over the restaurant business. Chinese restaurant on every corner.
Every corner. Groceries.
Okay.
And that is okay. Yeah, that is okay because I utilize Chinese groceries and whatnot. They tend to be convenient. They open on a Sunday whole day while other groceries are being closed and whatnot. You know what I mean? The price a little up there, but nevertheless the convenience is there and they understand business, and that's the difference, huh? Chinese understand business.
That is the difference. We don't understand business. We don't open on a Sunday. We don't give after hours service. We don't open late. These are things we can learn from our Chinese brothers and sisters. I agree with you there. However,
yeah, but I have a life too. I can't be working more than 40 hours a week and not overtime. I don't have 10 children. Shift. I don't have 10 children. I can put my first daughter in the morning and my second daughter in the evening, and all the boys can work at night.
You need some employees.
When you work in New York, you work in a shift. You do a morning shift, then you do an evening shift. If you want to, you do a night shift. Right? You have shift employees. You have people who like to work in the night.
12-hour shifts.
12-hour shifts.
That's too long, I think.
Yeah. I find there's some right wing behavior happening here. I'm not on board with that. 40 hours a week, then overtime, huh?
Well, it's 12 hours.
If a person wants to work 4 hours a week, let them. If a person wants to work 40 hours a week, let them. If a person wants to work 60 hours a week, let them. I want my time. 90 hours a week.
I want my time and a half, huh?
I always like to teach at 3 colleges at the same time. Used to keep me sharp. But that was just me. That's my culture. If a person wants to work in one college or work a half day in one college, that's their business.
I think someone was talking about a 6-hour work day. Who was that? Last
It may have been Angelo. Angelo might be the user of the MSJ, but
it would be one of those communist type parties.
Yeah, but yeah, the problem, I don't mind that 6 hour workday, but he doesn't read the fine print, because those are countries that are what's the good adjective? Efficient at what they do. They also take away your lunch hour, huh? So that lunch hour immediately comes out of that system. So I mean, you
Yeah.
work your 6 hour day, you lose your lunch hour, but you get it back. You get to go and do what you want to do. So you come in at whatever it is, 9 to 5. You come at 9, you leave at 3. Somebody else will come in at 11 and go till 5. So they keep their operations running in that system. And when there's high traffic in the air, so what they've really done is the Europeans have established a system. Say, okay, you want a 36-hour work week? We can work with that. We can get it to you 6 days a week at 6 hours a day and run it out efficiently, because you'll come in. Everything works by appointment. Everything is, run on time and on schedule. I don't know that on time and on schedule and
Exactly.
It's about
appointment and
Not
mind you,
turning on type of
COVID-19.
appointment, right?
Well, with COVID-19, I noticed a lot of areas. I think I'm waiting to see when the banks start to do it. The banks will start to tell you, make an appointment to come in the bank, and they'll tell you what time to come and which teller to see, because it's only a matter of time before that comes. Because I'm watching the lines, and I can tell you, I walked through the mall, and I can say there's a very long line at one Canadian bank, and the other local bank doesn't have a line. So there's something going wrong somewhere with somebody. And I don't know if they have the same number of tellers. I don't think any bank in this country is more popular than another one, but the lines are long in some banks and the lines are not long in other banks. So I'm waiting to see what happens. National motto, get as much as you can.
Now, what we're looking at here really is a question of work ethic in Trinidad. The work ethic simply does not exist. I think we worked with something like production tolerance and something else, discipline. This discipline,
wait.
production tolerance.
Well,
Sure.
wait. Before you get to work ethic, let me discuss other things. Customer ethic is very bad. Customer does come in and customer does say, hey, I the customer, if you don't, I want it so, and you don't do it for me so, I will complain. And they say, and they go and complain to the manager, and the manager says, well, we don't cater for that here. We just don't. Now the customer is always right, but the customer is also always wrong. I mean, so I understand the work ethic, because I mean, you work retail, you work customer CSR, customer service. People come in and think because you're the customer service representative, you're there to be abused. I've had friends. I've gone to the bank with friends, and they abuse the CSR. And I say, well, I would never abuse a CSR, because I know the manager on top wrote the policy and put the charges on my bank statement. If I want, I close the account. Me and the CSR go down very well. I said, so you're charging me to keep this account. What do I have to do to get rid of this charge? Well, you have to be over 55, or you have to have X $1,000 in the bank account. So I arranged to have X $1,000 in the bank account, so I don't get my bank charges. But he buffing up the lady, I had no money for that and thing. You go into high-low and you abuse people. I mean, I have seen some horror. Oh, and my favorite, KFC. I don't ever want to work KFC. People just abuse you in KFC. The young lady with 3 levels cashing it in front of her had to take some of this abuse from big hardback men. So I understand the work ethic. People don't work, but I gotta tell you something else. I can't take that kind of abuse.
But if
Well,
you
I've never
see,
worked as a customer service rep.
if they work and do the correct thing, and the system is functionable, the likelihood of you getting abused is lower. And that's where it starts, right?
Good point.
That's where it starts. So if you change your system and make it more friendly towards the public and your customers, right? Again, the likelihood of being abused, your staff, low. So why not change it? Because I personally just have to open my mouth sometimes when I need to, right? And
I generally get
again,
a lot of
it's not you know it's not the teller's fault, or they can't really do anything much about it. It comes back on it's management again. Management. I was say blaming management for everything, you know. But the truth, it was come down to management, right? Because they are the ones making the rules. They are the ones setting the order of the way things have to go, right? And if it doesn't comply to the persons who have to come and utilize your system, or utilize your service, then somebody going to get aggravated.
I've seen a lot of people, management, I've seen a lot of people get aggravated. I can't abuse people the way I've seen people been abused by. Sometimes I think the customer doesn't know the question to ask.
Sometimes they just want to make a little noise to get things moving a little faster. They really don't want to abuse anyone. They just want to make a little noise to get things moving a little faster.
My problem with service reps is that so many of them are looking to do the wrong thing. So many are looking for a bribe. You know, they have their hand out half the time instead of simply doing their job, and that is the norm in Trinidad. The only time I've received very good public service, I think, was when I went to the Telecommunications Authority of Trinidad and Tobago. That was the only time that everything was done to the letter as described on the online website.
TIC? I see a lot of people. Management. Okay, well, I don't know. I don't know which one. The information channel. They closed down that, right? It was the information channel, channel 4.
I think, yeah, I believe so. But it wasn't the IC I'm talking about.
I'm sure it wasn't. I was the same thing. But I mean, I don't know. I suppose there's other issues about training and whatnot. So back to budget. What we gonna do? We run out of money and thing. They closed down the Tourism and Hospitality Institute today. Now I don't know who closed. I don't know who closed it down, or if they had planned to, or if the principal just say, I can't pay no more bills, so what I go do?
Well, you have to remember, with the COVID-19, it basically took away all of the industries that are feeders of the Trinidad and Tobago Hotel Institute. So you're training executive chefs, you're training sous chefs, you're training public service representatives, hotel managers, and so on, for an industry that's can't keep the staff that it has. So it's a very tough deal for the Hotel Institute. I feel very sorry for them. I used to be part of their programs. I was across at John Donaldson. We used to do some parallel programs to them in culinary arts. I ran 72 food programs myself. We used to have to supply something like 40 people just for bartending courses for cruise ships. We used to have to supply 60, 70 chefs at a time for the cruise industry. We used to have to provide 40, 50 chefs for the hotel industry, right? So I understand what has happened. The industry is no longer there, so you're producing students for what, right? It's just tough. It's just really, really tough. It was a fantastic institute, but there's no need for it in a COVID-19 pandemic. It's really very, very sad.
19. What about post? What about after COVID-19?
I didn't know we supplied so much chefs to the cruise industry. I mean,
we supply chefs for.
Are you saying in a cycle you'd produce 80 chefs to go?
The tourism industry doesn't stop with the first hotels in Trinidad and Tobago. It is vast. It's just very, very sad that something like this should close down after all these years. But it's expensive to run. And if you don't have a throughput of students and you don't have a, industry to absorb them, you have to close the doors.
Yep, but you
It's like
have, but
making.
we have. That's why we could come up. We could figure out ways of tourism locally. If we can't generate business from the international market. We restructure and focus on boosting local tourism right, utilizing, and in fact we utilize it to better serve our local people, you know. um just a thought. I don't know, but I think a good institution. I, like, for instance, I know my neighbor came out of um the culinary school, and she does really good. um, it made a major impact in her life, right? And a lot of people would have benefited from the institution also. So to see it close down is a bit tough for
Damn.
a lot of people who are aspiring to go down that road.
I know it's not me because when I
Yes, yeah. International.
We understand that there are always difficulties in the financial arrangements for these types of schools and colleges. I know that there are internal corruptions that take place with every institute within the government service. Because these things are so well funded, um, there are always avenues for people to siphon off funds, and it's up to management again, right, and senior management and auditors to check to make sure that these things don't happen. So whilst I'm not going to comment on any irregularities if they existed within the hotel institute or what have you, right? We are aware that irregularities happen in all government offices to different extents in Trinidad and Tobago because of the wealth of the country over the past 58 years. It's if we had less, it would be managed much more effectively. The, you know, I mean, I've been to some of the small islands, and their budget is equivalent to Tunapuna Borough Regional Corporation or Rima Borough Corporation. Very, very small budgets compared to ours, and they do so much more with less. It's just amazing. We have so much, and we do so, we get the job done, but how much is siphoned off is debatable. So we do need tighter controls now that we don't have this amount of money. And I want to see what mechanisms we put in place in the budget to ensure that there are the much more stringent controls. I mean, I worked in institutes where I looked in the register and I see 45 teachers on the roll, and I look around and I see 5 guys. So 5 courses actually being taught, but 45 on the payroll. So we know that these things took place. We know that even when gate funding was taking place in various schools around the country, I had friends who would tell me, well, they're teaching in school X, and they have 10 courses in school X, and they're receiving gate funding for 20 courses. So it's about auditing systems. You have to keep a close eye on schools. The school principal, whether they're a nun or a priest or a business manager, makes no difference. You have to watch them the same way to make sure that they're, using the state's funds wisely and that the state is getting value for money. That is the question now. If they have a budget, will we get value for money? Half the time, I think we probably get 10 cents on the dollar. get value for money with a
Okay,
proper service.
while we wait for them to reconnect, I'll make the assumption that you can hear me. And the thing,
Right.
tonight we're talking with Joel Ramdani and Peter Aman, both candidates in the August 10th election that has gone. They were both unsuccessful. Nonetheless, we're still having conversation about how we take the country forward. We're discussing the budget and the cabinet reshuffle, probably something about COVID. And if you'd like to join, the internet's giving a little trouble tonight. And it's everybody, because I get bumped off the same time as them, and they get bumped off the same time as me, but I seem to be back in for the system at the moment. So we'll wait and see what comes of it. But if you want, you can post your comments below, or if you're feeling really brave, you can join the stream by typing in the URL below. That's http://streamyard.com/9CJCF7R9D5. And we're in the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. All 12 of you viewing at the moment. I think it's always good to have you on board. New comment. Let's see while they're waiting for them to come back. What's the new comment? Richard, I find you making lots of comments. You should come and talk to us. The bottom line is, after all the wealth, we have no water. And one day, there's talk of privatization. Nowhere in the world has that gone well. Well, water privatization, certainly not. TNTech privatization, I don't think so. I think we tend that we will probably one of the last things to privatize our utilities, water, electricity.
Water.
Understand some people think that internet is a utility, so we should see if we get a good internet connection at some point. See what happens. We have a private company running the internet now, but it's a little spotty, and it's spotty. I don't know why. Probably because other people are giving problems, or maybe Saturday night, everyone using the bandwidth. Do we need more bandwidth in Trinidad and Tobago?
Exactly. Yeah.
Always a good question. But I'll stick it through with you at the moment. But like I said, Richard, there's a URL you could click. You could join. It's no software through your browser. Bam. There's the URL. We're waiting for wait for those fellas to come back on board and see what connection we get, kind of response we get from the operation at the moment, because they seem to be off at the moment. Don't know if they'll try and get back in. We're using StreamYard tonight. Nifty little piece of software. Completely no software actually. It's completely browser interfaced. So there's a good idea. While we wait for them,
we're back on.
Let's see what's happening.
You hearing us?
We're back on.
Seeing us?
I'm seeing everybody.
Trinidad and Tobago had their recent elections, and then we haven't had like a real post-elections chit-chat. So we're waiting to find out what you thought of the elections and what's going on and what's the general operation thing. Trinidad and Tobago. But we're all waiting for our budget. They're going to swear Parliament in probably sometime next week, and from there we'll see what. I had apologies from Sir Matthew. Sir Matthew gave his apologies. He's not coming on board tonight, but he endorses the program for new better bandwidth. You forgot the promise of national internet. I don't feel like firing up the laptop. Okay, Richard, I accept your decline. Your decline maybe next week. It's not a weekly occasion here. We kind of like do this when we feel like it. My original two, Renisha and Sir Matthew, have backed out on the occasion, but I had Peter and Joel giving me support tonight, and we'll see what happens. The night goes on. And I'll keep my 10 viewers entertained for the moment. And oddly enough, to mention that the previous stream ranked us 1,500 viewers afterwards, at which point, after the 1,500 viewers, we wound up with 1,700 views overall. So large audience. I don't think everyone stayed on board for the full 4 hours, but you know, you can always be hopeful for that. Peter, are you back? Can you hear me?
I'm back. I'm hearing you. I was watching some of the comments made with respect to water, and I think the real reason we don't have water in Trinidad, and I've always noticed this, is that you can have we can have one neighbor using 10 million gallons and you're using 2 gallons and paying the same amount of money. And you know, having socialist water has always been a huge problem. If everybody paid for it and paid for what they use, everybody would have water 24/7. Because we produce 7 times more water than the whole of the United Kingdom, which has 20 times the population. It's not we don't produce the water; it's we waste it, and it's very cheap. Nobody cares. They just turn the tap on, they leave it on, they have their tanks overflowing, they let them overflow. We have an interesting system which is manifolded from North Urapooch, where they actually give people water on a schedule. You know, one district gets it for 2 days, another district gets it for 2 days. But overall, you know, they're going to have to use the same volume of water if you do the math. They're just storing it in tanks. So you might as well let everybody.
I was told that we lose 50% of our water supply through leaks. The infrastructure in Wassa is so old that we lose 50% of our water through the infrastructure leaks.
Not exactly true. I mean, I have students working in Wassa for 30 and 40 years, and that's not exactly true. The leaks are largely agricultural connections. They're not real leaks. These where people go in the dark and they dig a hole in the ground and they hook up a blue line, what they call a long service connection, and they run it to a pond where they collect 500,000 gallons. They then take that pond, which is, you know, soaking water underneath the ground for agriculture, and they pump water to their tomato field and their baigan field and their lettuce, and that doesn't actually get to the residential users. This is because we have no agricultural water system. It has nothing to do with what you might determine you call a leak under the road. That's very little is actually lost in the leaks you see on the side of the road, where you see water creating potholes. Most of it is actually used for agriculture because there's no agricultural water policy. Back in 1965, when they made the Wassa Act, the geniuses at that time, Errol Mahabir and Kamaluddin Muhammad and Eric Williams and these interesting chaps, didn't think it was necessary to have an agricultural water policy. So that got left out. So you eat the baigan and the cabbage and everything else that is grown, but you don't have any consideration for where the water came to grow it. Most of that water was borrowed. I think we've lost Nigel there for a second. I think we've bumped up on stream. So, now, if we did a few things with water that were sensible, for example, we allow the county Arena water treatment plant next to the airport to pump 10 millions of gallons of water into the system for the day. Now, the water comes down from the northern range into the Caroni. Now, most of this water can disappear in the gravel fan before it even gets to the Caroni Water Treatment Center, and then you have to pump this dirty water to a high lift elevation before you clean it, which means you have to dam the Caroni further down, which causes flooding upstream. When you don't have water in the Caroni to pump up, you have to release water from the Arena Dam. There's nothing filling the Arena Dam except rain on a daily basis. So you have the whole of the catchment area, the watershed, which is the northern range, which does not actually feed the reservoirs. You've got the water treatment plant next to the airport, which makes absolutely no sense because you have to now clean dirty water from the Caroni River and make it clean when you could have had the water treatment plant at the Arena Reservoir and clean it there. The infrastructure is very, very poor, to say the least, right? I mean, I say a lot of things about engineering here, but a lot of things are put in positions simply for hubris. In the day, Errol Mahabir, I believe, was the minister at the time, wanted the Caroni Arena water treatment plant at the airport so you can see it when he got off an aeroplane and came back in the country. It doesn't make any sense in terms of engineering to have it there. It should have been at the Arena Dam, where you'd have to use much less chemicals, would have been much cheaper and more cost-effective to clean the water there. It would have made more sense to have an aqueduct from the Arima River, the Aripo rivers, the Morsika River, and so on, and carry the clean water from the Northern Range about 5 miles over the top straight into the Arena Dam. They chose not to do this for whatever reasons. These were political reasons, right? They could have done this with the monies that they had in the 70s with the first oil boom, and they chose not to. We don't know why they chose not to. They put systems in place that are just ridiculous by any standard. When you switch water on and off, it vibrates the pipeline, bringing it up to what we call static pressure, which is about 20 psi. So when you switch it off and you switch it on again, it jerks the pipeline, causes breaks, causes leaks. Having a manifolded water system, whereby you give Aruka water one day, then you give Dabadi water another day, then you give Garden Village water another day, is just plain ridiculous. It puts undue stresses on a water system. Now, it's only mad people, like in Trinidad, that would have a water system that operates so. Because we have 7 times more water than we actually need, but we don't have a functioning water system. It's just very, very, very bad management. I can't stress on the word bad management enough when it comes to WASA. There's just no answer for it.
Not just WASA.
Not just WASA.
Lost Nigel again.
Well, let's use the terminology brought about by the last election. Both of you were candidates. Both of you saw the results. Can we say with some certainty Trinidadians like it so?
It would definitely seem so. Very sad, but the average person doesn't have the intellectual capacity to understand that they could have better, and they deserve better and need better. You know, but you know, like one of my neighbors who was telling me that 15 people living in a room, but they're comfortable. That is the problem. They're carrying water on their head from up the hill, but they're comfortable with that.
Yeah, I think Trinidadians are pretty comfortable where they are currently. It clearly showed for the election. You know, it was, for me, it was alarming to see the amount of people went back to the original voting style. But yeah, I think they are pretty comfortable where they are, you know, and maybe they think this is the best that we could get out of Trinidad and Tobago. Which is sad, yeah. Which is sad.
I was surprised. But I was surprised at the results. I mean, there was no gains anywhere outside of the unusual occurrence of Maruga Tewan, which just simply seemed to, they pulled the rug out from under Gypsy, which I have yet to, I'm still waiting for my friends down in Maruga to tell me what happened down there. But I mean, basically there was no change in the voting standard from 2015. There was no interest in bringing anyone else on board. There was no interest in, there was certainly, you know, a chain confound here. People stuck exactly to where they were in 2015. In fact, some of the polling divisions I was looking at, the numbers are almost identical. They're a few dozen off of what they were 5 years ago. So those are just people who probably passed away and didn't come to the voting station. So I don't know what's happened. I mean, I don't understand. We've had the conversation for at least 20 years, going back to 1818, and I can't seem to get anyone to figure out what's going on. In fact, the voter base between PNM and the UNC, when I hear a lot of my complaints and stuff, WASA and TNTech and this budget and what's going forward, if the population isn't willing to go out and at least stamp something else, the X next to something else besides the UNC and the PNM, why should anybody in the public service change?
You see, you have to remember that they're trapped. They're trapped economically, right? They're trapped in a government job, right? Because 70% of the population work directly or indirectly for a government job. They're trapped in a subsidized government house. They know full well that they're only paying 1/3 of the actual price of the house. They get a house for $300,000, when on the real market it will be $1 million, $1.5 million, whatever, right? So they feel that they are part of the system. They like the system. They like the status quo. They know they don't have a real job. They have a fake job. They're getting paid for doing basically nothing. They get a house for basically nothing. They can afford the low foreign use car, the B14, B15, and they're happy with that. That is the problem with the population. They've been, I mean, they're tied to this system from birth, practically. I mean, I understand. My grandmother was tied to this system, right? She was part of the People's National Movement, and they had their party groups, and their party groups is part of the Marxist-Leninist system, where you have a cell, you have 5, 6 members in this group, and down the road there's another party group with 5, 6 members, and so on. And you cannot beat that system. It's unless you have a new party that comes up and it has uses the same model, that same Marxist-Leninist model of trapping these people into this social engagement, which is what it is. You're not going to be able to beat it. They're tied. Their hands are tied. Their foot is tied. They've been given keys. In other words, they're given property, right? And therefore they feel obliged. They get a house for next to nothing. They know full well they didn't deserve it. They didn't earn it. They don't work for it, right? They've got a fake job. They've got a fake life, but they're P&M. They will accept. They will accept everything that's coming to them, even though they know full well, right? It's not right, but it is what it is. They're getting an easy ride.
But that can't be all 329,000 of them. I mean, there must be some of them in there with
more than that, Nigel. Actually, Nigel, is a lot more than that. It is considerably more than that. If you consider 70% of the population, of the working population, which is 1.3 million people, right? 70% of 1.3 million people is closer to 1 million people fall into that category, Nigel. So you're at a tremendous disadvantage as a member of a small party, in that you haven't given anybody a job, you haven't given anybody a house, you haven't given anybody a position whereby they are, making a living based on the taxpayers of the country or the energy largesse of the country, how much money the country is able to make, and then throw at the citizens or give to the citizens without any effort. So we do have a system here, Nigel, that is very biased in terms of the larger parties. There's no way a small party can actually compete. You hope maybe perhaps that somebody may see fit to put a member of a small party in the Senate, so they actually have some reasonable return for the country on their investment. So you have some moderation to the fanatical socialist policies that are thrown at you either by the UNC or the PNM. But getting some rational, normal discourse at the level of the parliament is very, very difficult. You just have this socialist nonsense where people are grasping for pay increases, which just disappear as soon as they get them because they're not matched by hard currency earnings of the country. Too many of our citizens, in fact, almost none of our citizens understand macroeconomics. So they'll beg for a pay increase, which will disappear in 2 weeks by inflation, because it's not backed by hard currency earnings. They have a job that doesn't actually earn any hard currency. They have a job in the public service, whatever, or the teaching service, whatever. They want a raise. You give them a raise. What that does is devalue your currency by whatever percentage the raise was, and everybody's back on the same even keel. It is what it is.
Well, given that, Joy, what do you think from Mr. Imbert on the budget?
What's that?
What would you like to see in the budget?
Budget.
Well, they're going to
I
swear
think.
parliaments and
Go ahead. Go ahead.
no, they're going to swear parliaments in, and then they're going to read the budget.
Right. Yeah.
It's first matter because they'll pick their senators and they'll pick their the independent senators and the opposition senators, and then we'll have budget. And I figure if they swear them in this week, I figure the following Monday would be budget, and the Friday after that, in 14 days, would be the budget reply. So I'm sure it's time to start having consultations in the COP and the NCT, and let's hear what the population wants to see in the upcoming budget.
It's not about what we want to see, but what we're gonna get.
Well, I mean,
because you see, our prime minister has already indicated to us that it's going to be a tough 2 years, right? So
It's
don't look
licks.
for goodies. Don't look for goodies. No, you just want to look at how much this budget is going to be, if there's any deficit, and how are we going to manage whatever revenue that we have for the next year.
I don't think it's if it has a deficit. I think how much is the deficit going to be?
You know, we have been running a deficit budget for a long time, right? Some way as well. I think since the partnership.
No. Before the partnership, I think Manning didn't run a balanced budget in any of his terms. So I don't know any last balance, but we had a surplus at the end of it. But it's been a long time.
I can never understand why are we spending more than we earn. It makes no sense. You know, it always puts us at a disadvantage because now you have to find ways to generate these revenues now, to fulfill these deficits within the budget. And considering the direction that the world is going and our economy is going, especially, it's worrying. It's very worrying.
Well, before I pass it back to Peter, just let me tell you, one of the biggest criticisms.
You can spend more than what you earn if you invest it. It all depends what you spend the money on. If it's something that's going to give you a big return on your investment, by all means go ahead. If you're going to spend money on education, and you know full well that having an educated population is going to give you better goods and services in the future, go ahead. If you're spending money on fake jobs, on people cutting the bush on the side of the road, whatever, right, you're just throwing it away. If you're spending it on pay rises for people, you're just throwing it away. You need to spend money on capital projects that actually generate revenue. Right? If they don't generate any revenue, don't spend the money. Just do the math. It's as simple as that. If you're putting in a process plant that makes money, and you know it's going to employ 20 people, and it's going to make $6 billion a year in foreign exchange, by all means. But don't run it yourselves. Make sure you have the right expertise to run it. Don't let Chinese touch it. Right? Make sure that it's run by competent foreign professionals. Right? At the same time, you keep the shareholding, you get your dividends, and you make your forex. That's what I have to say. It's about investment. Forget savings. Savings is for suckers, right? You have to have an investment program in any budget. Without an investment program, you have nothing. All pensions should be investment program based. That's what I have to say about this whole budget thing. They have to change their modus operandi, change their way of thinking.
Well, the only model that's been actually done in what you've been suggesting is been the Hyatt, and they put their money into the Hilton, and the Hilton is run by the Hilton Corporation. I think the Hyatt was built under specifications, and it was but when Mr. Afra Riemann asked for the books, he couldn't get it. He actually filed under Freedom of Information. He still hasn't gotten it, and I think they've taken it to court under the system that he's entitled to see the books, and they haven't accounted for why.
corruption again.
Well, I didn't
We
say
did
that.
spend
But
$6 million being a pool.
sorry, Joe.
I said we did spend $6 million to renovate the pool area, right? In
Um,
at the Hilton.
in Hilton, well, I suppose so. I think for $6 million we could have gotten a very nice pool, very large pool. But the pool is a structure. I think I don't know if it's what's underneath it, but whatnot. But yes, I think there was that done. The pool, however, is 50 years old as well. I don't know how old the Hilton is, but I mean it's a very old pool. Whatever they spent it on is went up. I would like to see the audited reports on that. I don't know if they've ever been laid in joint select committee or not, but I mean it's always a question of the contractor and thing. But the procurement bill has been passed. We still haven't seen too much on that front of it. But I like it. Thank you for the reminder. I was going to say about the debit, about the budget. One of the issues about you were mentioning investment there. The partnership was taking money, putting it into the Heritage and Stabilization Fund, but they were running a deficit budget, which most of the technocrats said was not a feasible idea. The HSF is, but I mean I don't know what the general returns are, but I can imagine that. Well, after what happened to Wall Street this year, I think some of our funds may be depleted from that point of view as well, if they put any money in that investment. So
All depends
I
what
don't
the
know
Heritage
how much.
and Stabilization Fund is invested in. Yes, you're quite right. Now, the Heritage and Stabilization Fund is something that should have been more or less left alone, but I see Colin Mimbert has dipped into this many, many times, which is disappointing. I think we should leave it till we really need it. Right? It can't be simply used for anything but projects that will generate revenue in the future. We make no bones about this in the NCT. We are capitalist, full stop. We're not into any social programs at all. If we train people to make money and people to think about making money and to be young entrepreneurs, to start businesses, start business incubators, have people thinking what the jobs will be in the next 4 years, 5 years, 10 years, right, and train for them now, maybe we'll get some return on our investment. I think the change manager is going to be the biggest job in the world in the next 4 years. The person who can walk into companies now and see what changes have to be made to make them COVID-19 compliant and people safe and keep those companies in business. Because a lot of the business models simply don't work in a pandemic. Most business models are collapsing and falling by the wayside. I mean, I was caught in this largely myself, and I do some rentals and so on, and we have to change our way of thinking. But the person who can change that model, the person who can bring up a budget which will change that model, utilize what we have effectively in efficiency, we'll be able to turn this thing around within 4 or 5 years. Making another ministry isn't going to do it. Having a ministry of technology when you already have a ministry of science and technology is just wasting money. It's another job creation scheme. Jobs for the boys, much like UTT and many other things in Trinidad and Tobago, is jobs for the boys. We have to stop that jobs for the boys thing, stop the corruption, get value for money. If we put in a ministry simply to stop corruption, an anti-corruption ministry, maybe that might work.
That's what the procurement legislation was for. The procurement was supposed to bring in the system that across the boards, everybody submits their proposals, and the government chooses the best one economically.
Well, we know that wasn't going to happen still, right? It's politics we're talking about here.
Well. I mean, you would like to think they passed the procurement bill that the intention was to go through with it, like the financial reform bill for political parties how much money they can accept and whatnot. I thought they had passed that. They put that in the parliament the last minute, and of course it didn't pass. But I see you could donate $50,000 to a political party and have a tax write-off or something like that. So hopefully we see some funding into the program eventually.
Maybe.
Maybe. So let's kick the can into the next one. What do you think about the funding for the Ministry of Health in the upcoming budget? Do you think it'll be increased given the current COVID situation?
Well, we know for sure that that's where the chunk of money is going. Yeah.
Well, current.
And we spent
at the
$1
moment.
billion already for COVID alone. It's only obvious that they're going to take the chunk of the budget for the health sector. Yeah. What do you think?
I agree. I have no problem with it. They will do that no matter what.
Yeah.
No matter what people say or do, they'll have to spend that money. I mean, Sweden
Especially
decided not to forward the pay, and we that got them. But we can't be a totally heartless society. But it's going to cost us, every 12 months, there's going to be a spike in this particular virus for the next 4 years minimum, whether they find a vaccine or not. And if it stays with us ad infinitum, we have to re-engineer our entire society to live with it for maybe the next 100 years. Who knows?
Mm.
No.
Well, budget tends to be the highest. And then I think health. So if they've closed the school for 9 months now, from March until December, hopefully some of the Ministry of Finance's funds can find their way into the health division and sort of bring us some balance to this. Because I don't know what's the major expenditure in education. I think it's either the gate or the operation of secondary and primary schools, which have been closed for a while. I know we're still paying the salaries, but hopefully, the money is there to be saved. I don't know how he's going to juggle those figures for the next budget, but I mean, traditionally, if I remember correctly, education gets the highest, followed by national security, and then health.
I can expect Gate to get cut. I'm expecting Gate to get cut.
Not smart.
Well,
yeah, I'm expecting it. So
now is the time actually to spend more money on Gate, because you get more. It's cheaper to run Gate than not to run it. It's cheaper to have a better educated population and have less riots, less poor people, less children being born. It costs you cheaper to have an educated populace in the long run, because educated people have less children, they're less of a burden on the state, they develop the state, they provide goods and services for the state. It actually saves you money by having a lot of educational programs. India realized that 20 years ago. Now India is #1 in IT and computer training and all the rest of it. If we had done the same thing 20 years ago, we would be in an enviable situation today, which we are not. We have less than 15% of our people in tertiary education. Barbados has more than 50%. They outdo us. A smaller island with less income outdoes us in education. Venezuela outdoes us in education. India outdoes us in education. So we are kind of, very much lagging behind. Gate is an investment strategy, not simply spend and throw away that money. So spending money on Gate makes sense. You can't cut it, right? If you want to cut expenditure, you can cut expenditure on national security. You don't need to buy these huge Coast Guard boats that just sit around in small boats for 20 years and eventually sink. A lot of money is wasted in national security on new guns and new weapons systems and helicopters that are so expensive and so sophisticated that we they need even special fuel to run, so they don't take them off more than once a year, right? So the money that could be saved in national security could run Gate for the next 50 years, just on 2 or 3 helicopters. Don't buy those things, and put the money, invest it in our young people instead, and we're fine. If we sell some of those helicopters and some of those big boats that they have sitting around in Stawells Bay, we could send 1 million students to university. Remember, this would be online training. So whether you teach one person online or 1,000 people online, you have the same tutorial cost. The tutor cost is the same. You can have a class of 600 online, or you can have a class of 6. The cost is the same. So Gate isn't necessarily as expensive as government would have you believe. Gate can be very, very cheap. I can teach 200 engineering students for the cost of teaching 2 engineering students.
You see, come back down to the reason why I said that, right, is because we have to look at patterns, right? Patterns by last budgets and the government that is in the present government. And we know they're going to be looking for ways to pull back funding from certain areas so that they will have more to spend in other areas that they would deem is more important. So although we know that Gate is a definite something that helps the community, helps build the Trinidad and Tobago, the education sector and everything, it have a possibility that they will look at these things such as Gate and other things such as Gate to try to withdraw those little fundings from and cut it in half. I think it at one point in time it was $50 for dollar or something. Yeah. Correct? Or yeah. So they might have it, but they might restructure how they carry about their funding. Of it now. They might put up a different percentage on it rather than putting, let's say, 50% or 100% of the bill or whatnot. But it's just that other programs such as that, it have a possibility that this is the direction they will go also.
Well, cutting Gate will be a major blow for everyone who's I time under the UNC's administration under Basil Pandey. So children who were born then have been growing up with the expectation of going to university for free. I don't think anyone has squirreled away their nuts to pay for certainly not university tuition. So the question then, what were they going to do? Because suddenly, whereas they were expected to go to university to do NATSI, SOSI, vet, medicine, law, they'll be home. Because I'm pretty sure a significant number of them will not be able to afford the fees, even dollar for dollar. Pay, I don't know. So you're gonna suddenly have to find. They're gonna have to find work.
We got to keep in mind that with COVID being in this COVID period,
yep,
there really aren't as much jobs available down the tourism company for the same reason, right? There isn't a market for that right now. So it might be a temporary closure until we come back to the point where things are so kind of normalized, right? So it have a possibility it could happen. Jobs are very scarce, right?
UTT has to re-engineer. They have to have some change management whereby they put all their programs online. Instead of having physical classrooms where they have one teacher and 30 students, they have to change that model where they have one lecturer and 3,000 students if necessary, and have a change in the cost structure, have a complete change in the cost structure where you have perhaps 2% of the cost that you would have in the previous system. They have to really re-engineer the whole process of education. So where you would talk about $5,000 for a course, now that same course could be $500, right? It has to be looked at in terms of the numbers and your actual costs. Your costs will go down to close to zero with a properly managed system. You can use the same video recording of the same teacher in the same class 1,000,000 times, 10 million times. It doesn't make a difference. And you can have the people do online courses, online examinations, online everything. From the time you've got your package worked out and you've got your program changed and you've got your variables for your multiple choice questions and your structured questions and what have you, the costs can approach zero. So it may be a good thing having COVID. It may make the universities more efficient. It's about efficiency. I would give the education system less money for their programs and more money for GATE.
But given that, have we seen any? I mean, we gave them free primary education, then we gave the society free secondary education, and in the last 20 years we've given them free tertiary education. But our voting patterns continue to be the same. The thinking hasn't changed. The education seems to be put
there. Nigel, we haven't had more than 15% of people enrolled in tertiary education. And unfortunately, most of the intellectuals don't bother to vote because there are more people who are uneducated than there are educated. If you have, and of those 15% who get the tertiary education, less than 10% of those stay in the country. So 1.5% of the people with university degrees stay in Trinidad and Tobago. Herein lies the problem, Nigel. So you've got 98.5% of the population, working population, without any degrees, without any higher level thinking, without the intellectual capacity to understand that when they vote for one socialist party or another, UNC, PNM, it makes no damn bit of difference, right? And they will suffer the same way, and they will have water the same way they didn't have water last 5 years. They won't have the water the 5 years following, and they'll have even less water in 5 years to come because they're doing nonsense. The intellectual capacity is constantly flying away. Now, COVID gives us an opportunity to trap some of that intellectual capacity in Trinidad and Tobago. Open gate very, very wide, train a lot of people, increase the intellectual capacity, and they're trapped right here. They'll have to develop Trinidad and Tobago. They can't go to Houston. They can't go to London. This is a great opportunity for us.
I agree with that because maybe that is why we had an issue where Stuart didn't want to bring in back, foreigner, locals who were living abroad before election, right? Because it is what you said is correct, right? Most of these people utilize gates and DB and all these yeah, it would have left opportunities. Opportunity to come out of university and like UTT and whatnot, So if ever we could get them back in, right, I think that we could definitely see a change in terms of voting patterns next election. Yeah. You guys there?
I'm here. Yes, I'm just making 1 or 2 edits to the stream, but so we don't want to cut gate. We're expecting gate to be cut.
What's that?
So the question then comes in, okay, is gate the only mechanism they're going to use to cut and make money, save money to put back into the system? Because are they going to tax us? You think they're going to raise the tax back from 12.5% back up to 15?
Property tax for sure.
Ooh, property tax.
Wow.
Don't get that out of your system. It's coming.
Property tax. Okay. Well, property tax. Let me see if I can remember the system. You work out your rental value of your property, and you work out, is it 0.3% of your rental value for 1 year?
Annually, yeah.
Annually, yeah. So what you're working out is not the value of your property, the rental value of your property.
Rental value. Yeah.
And you pay tax. And tax is
Rental
0.
values will be cut by 50%.
Right.
Because of COVID, rental values are in the toilet right now.
Well, let's hope they use the new rental values and not the old rental values. They use the new rental values.
It will put
And you
people in a lot of trouble if they use the old
0.3%.
rental values.
And if I remember it, I just said up to a maximum of $1,800. So all those Valsane houses and Blanche Park houses and Gulf View West Moorings, I think the maximum is $1,800 per year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyone read the legislation besides me? I tried to remember. I read it, but I don't remember it too well.
I didn't get that. Yeah, 1,800. I didn't realize it had a cap.
Yeah, it had to have a cap. Could you imagine some of the mansions, people?
Yeah.
But there aren't that many mansions. The average person lives in a relatively small house.
No, but the person living in a $30 million or a $40 million mansion would have had to pay, maybe my year's salary, a 60 or 70,000.
I will tell you this.
When we have taxation on property, when we tax ourselves in soft currency, we're only hurting our own country. Taxation is never the way to go for any economy to develop. Winston Churchill would have said this to us many times in the past, right? If you want a country to grow, you have to increase your export earning capacity. Plain and simple. If the budget doesn't provide opportunities to improve our export earning potential through having a better skilled labor force and educated population, the budget is a failure. Full stop. If you're taxing people, your budget is a failure. You have to generate the income effectively. If you're running 70% of the population and you can't generate an income to run the country, something is wrong with your entire management structure. Forestry could be self-sustainable, WASA should be self-sustainable, TNTech, every single sector in the country should be self-sustaining. I do have one slight bias towards education and health, where we understand to provide a social safety net for those who cannot look after themselves, you need to have free health and you need to have free education to level the playing field. Everybody should have equal opportunity and access for those things. But everything else can be used to make money. You don't have to tax people to death to run a forestry division or to run WASA. Let people pay for the water. Let people pay to walk in the forest. Simple.
Yeah. In Venezuela, before things get really bad, education is cheap. You could get your degree and bachelor's and thing for less than what it costs to get telephone connections on, you know, and your cable bills and what. It's very cheap, right? Because they value education, right? I can't we do the same thing, you know? So yeah, education, man, education is key. Because I personally, considering the fact that where we are financially as a country right now, and if we do have to tax, we do have to utilize this property tax, right? I really don't see much of an issue with it at present, right? Because we did discontinue taxation on 2009, but I really don't see much of an issue with it in terms of the amount that is being that you would have to pay. Especially now that I understand that there's a $1,800 cap, and that is per year. Per year.
Mm.
All right. It just means that persons who have multiple properties will tend to be the ones to feel the brunt more than persons who have one property. You know?
I think it will just hurt the poor because the property owner with multiple properties will simply add on tax to the people who are renting those multiple properties from him. One man does not live in 6 houses. If you have 6 houses, you live in one and you rent out the other 5, right? Those tenants will be the one who will be hurting by the increased taxation. So what they'll do if it's $1,800 a year, they'll say, okay, let me see what am I going to do here, right? Let's raise the rent $300. We'll claim it on the property tax and we'll make a little profit on top of that. That's how it will go. The poor will always pay for the rich.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I mean, how many of the poor have property? Don't you consider yourself, if you're a homeowner, you're part of the rich? Which is a question I've asked many people. What is the percentage home ownership in Trinidad and Tobago? We had 1.01 million voters in that, and if you divide it by half, say husband and wife, that's 500,000 households. How many of them own their property?
A large number in Trinidad. It's very popular to own your own house, even if it's government property. Own your own house.
But it's the only financial instrument that they use. They don't use other financial instruments to go forward with the thing. They buy the house because that is what they use to save their money, and they buy a vehicle to get around with, because that's it. But after that, if you ask them what's their saving or strategy plan is, nobody has an answer for you. They say, well, we're struggling to pay the mortgage and we're struggling to pay for the vehicle.
Well, they don't understand investment. Too many Trinidadians don't understand investment. They think investment is throwing your money into the unit trust or throwing your money into a fixed deposit in the bank, where they get 4% or some ridiculous thing like that, They don't look at it.
Back up. Which bank you getting 4% in? Yeah, because I want to know.
I don't know. That might be, even that might be miraculous this day and age. I don't know. I honestly do not believe in putting money in banks, investing money in banks. That's just nonsense, right? If you buy something for $2 and you sell it for $4, you automatically make 100% profit, right? I think
which the government taxes 30% of. So you have to take of that $2, you have to give 60 cents to the government.
Technically speaking, yes.
When they launch that new revenue authority, you're gonna hear about technically.
Well, you have VAT. We understand that there's 12.5% VAT actually, not 15%.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's give.
Well, I can go back to 15, eh?
No. I'm not talking about VAT. I'm talking about business tax. If you buy something for $2, you sell it for $4. That's $2 profit. You have to pay 30% on the $2 you made.
That's not a problem.
And
That's
you
not a
haven't
problem. You're still making $1.70, right? No bank is giving you $1.70 on $2.
Hold on a second. Then you haven't taken out your business levy, which is 1% levy fund. So you've now gone down from $1.40 to, I'd say, $1.35. See how easy your profits disappear?
I agree with you.
Now a lot of poor people don't understand. If you make,
we understand there are costs. There's labor costs. You've got to pay salary. You've got to pay staff. You've got to pay NIS. You've got to pay business levy. You've got to pay VAT. We understand all of that.
So you might end up making about 60 cents on each on that transaction.
Invest your own money. Don't let banks invest it for you or the unit trust invest it for you. You can make more money investing it yourself in almost anything than putting your money into the unit trust or a bank, right? That is the difference in culture. You see, my grandmother, an old P&M lady from Sangre Grande, with the same P&M type mentality, would say, put your money in the bank, son, and invest it and save it and all the rest of it, and you get 1% at the end of the year, or 2%, or 3 or 4%, maybe if you're lucky. And you take that money.
How old is your grandmother?
So this advice, very, very bad advice. Extremely bad advice, right? I always found it better to buy something, sell it, make a profit, right? And then turn that money around again and then keep turning that money around many, many, many times. I'm an extremely poor man from a very, very poor family with start from almost nothing. So I had $1.75 in my pocket when I was 18, and I've just been turning that over ever since. The biggest mistake I ever made was working in the public service. However, if you invest your money constantly and keep investing it, and you invest in your own country, you invest in your young people, then you have a chance. So a budget has to always be about investment, nothing else about investment. If it doesn't make money, don't spend it.
You know that only 1% is guaranteed by the financial institution that finance the big, right? The interest.
1%.
1%. Wow. And your charges, the charges that you 1%. Yeah. And since the crash of Clico, right? It came down to 1%. I was working Algebra at the time, and we were actually generating 8%, right? While people were generating like 10 and 15%, wherever they were getting that interest rate from, whatever they were doing, right? But we were actually safely generating 8% and paying that off, right? And after the crash of Clico, and they revised and they passed the bill and whatnot, the financial bill, where they dropped the guarantee is only 1%. They can only guarantee 1% interest. If you make more, you make more, but they can only guarantee 1%. You know, so it really makes no sense putting your money into that.
It's crazy to take that risk. It's better you buy $1,000 in yam, carry it down Namdevco market, and you sell it for $2,000.
Yeah.
Taxes included.
Taxes included.
Yeah, they don't tax that one.
No taxes.
You'll often see me.
No, but there are many opportunities. There are many opportunities to turn over a dollar. I personally don't believe in putting money into the bank and letting them hold my money and invest my money, and I get nothing in return, literally nothing. It really makes no sense, and it shouldn't make any sense for anyone in Trinidad and Tobago, right? Take your money, find something to invest in, find and something safe to invest in, right? And short term, don't focus on any long term. term. That's a waste of time.
Well, the long term might
Short
be
term
there in
investment,
5
get a
years.
quick flip, right? You'll see a return. Yeah, you don't want to wait for 5 years just to see a $10 in your account. You know what I mean? You can see you can see $100 in 30 days. You know.
Right.
So it comes
Sometimes
down to
a small piece of
you being
equipment
a little more
might
brave.
make a lot of money.
Huh?
Yes, definitely. Definitely. We have to have more people thinking in a capitalist mode. There's too many socialists and communists out there in Trinidad. If we could train our young people to become entrepreneurial capitalists, this place would be much better. And a budget has to have strategies to produce more capitalists, not socialists, not people who rely on the state. Otherwise, we'll end up like Venezuela.
You see, one of the things that will why we don't have that happening is because a lot of people are afraid to invest. They don't understand how to invest, what to invest in, and they tend to think that the safe way is put it in the bank, leave it there. It's there. But by trying to be safe, you're not really doing anything for yourself, and you're not really elevating yourself and your bank account. You know, you have to step out a bit, and you have to make that extra effort and do all the study into different markets and whatnot, something, and you could find something that is easy to invest in, and just if you can make $2 on an item, right, which is more than what you're gonna get in the bank, you're doing well. You're doing well.
I have an investment for you guys, but I need 2 friends.
Talk to me. Talk to me.
You don't know what that is, Joel?
Let's hear it.
I see Peter laughing, man. I think you don't know what it is. I need 2 friends.
I like to
I
invest.
invest a lot of things, Nigel.
I like making money.
Have you invested in that, and you need 2 friends?
What's that?
I invest in a lot of things, Nigel, a lot of things, right? I don't like to keep any cash. Things can be turned over later. Cash just loses its value half the time.
Mm-hmm. I think we lost Nigel there, but
I think we lost Nigel.
yeah. But yeah, investment is better. It's better to invest your money in something than that you get a return on later on than just sitting there watching the look, especially considering that they want to devalue your dollar. That they
Exactly.
spend it on something now.
Real estate is always a great investment. Land is a great investment. Houses are a great investment. A car is a very poor investment unless it depreciates from the time you buy it. Terrible investment. Right?
But you know, my business is real estate. You know that, right?
Yeah, mine too.
So,
Mine too.
Right, good. So we know exactly what it means.
Yeah. One building will pay for another building, and another building will pay for another building, and so it goes.
You know, and lost money. That's where you can invest in.
So don't put your money in the bank. Buy real estate.
Buy real estate.
Always buy real estate. My
mother-in-law,
who was the most brilliant lady in the world, Parabati Bransing, used to say, "Land no rotten."
Yeah.
What she meant is it's a fantastic investment.
It is. Never lost on land before.
Never.
Guaranteed, and the guarantees are more than 1%.
You get about 15 to 20% per annum on land.
Mm-hmm.
That's the beauty of it. Population is
only
much greater.
Only this year, though, there were a drop in valuation after COVID.
Well, that's
25%, but it means that it's a buyer's market now.
People are still making children, so don't worry, it'll go back up.
That money.
With the COVID, there'll be a spike in births, so there'll be an increase in demand. right? Things will be good.
Niger.
I don't know if you all warned everybody about the pyramid scheme, but I was going to tell you about me and my two friends I'm looking for. But I see you've wandered off now on to talk about land. Wanted to see how. So my next joke, of course, would be and this would be ethnically inappropriate. How much Indian you all have? Because my friends always say, yeah, Indian people does buy land, and there's a reason for it too. So at 15 and 20%, Peter predicting there per annum. I'm thinking the one resource they say that they're not making any more of is land. However, we live on an island, so when you're finished selling out all the land, there's no more. And I think Tobago has reached that sort of situation at the moment.
You can grow land.
There's always
You can grow.
And you can grow
vertically. Apartments. Mm-hmm.
Yes, you can. You can go vertically. Put 100 apartments straight up in the sky.
Up.
You can go below the ground too. You can put 3 levels below the ground and 100 above.
You need to own a country to approve that though. Otherwise it gets no value. And we know that's a headache by itself.
That is a headache. That is just...
And by the way, Nigel, that TIC you was talking about earlier was actually TC. Town and country.
Oh! Let me not talk about them because
that's why I wanted to bring it up.
90% of the country doesn't have TNC.
Yeah.
That had to be a separate live also. So I can't deal with them people. I mean, if we start telling horror stories about TNC, no, we will be here all night.
True.
So anyway, the one institution of people that talk about institutions that they don't want to deal with in Trinidad. One is the licensing office. Town and Country comes very close in second.
Yes.
I think the third one was what? I can't even remember. Oh, the passport office came up high as well.
Probably passport office. Yeah, they're pretty tremendous.
TNTech, when you want a connection, it's a problem. But paying your bill and stuff, and WhatsApp paying your bill, I think that all that's relatively smooth out. Yeah. But
takes so long.
So let me just change the ticker tape below us, and I'll ask the question nobody wanted. Nobody wants to deal with. Are you expecting a devaluation in budget 2021?
It won't help us.
But sure. Some idiot in the wrote in the Guardian. I think Sunday Guardian gone. I'm not too sure who. I think somebody said it was a devaluation, an article pro devaluation. And I was like, who wrote that? But I heard about it. It was in the Guardian. I must go back and look for the name of the journalist because that's an economic person I'd like to meet.
You have to let free market forces rule, right? What people are willing to pay for a currency is what you should pay for it. Having the government fix the price of a foreign currency is an exercise in stupidity. It just creates a huge black market for that currency.
Yeah.
Well, the government will tell you they don't control the value of it. They control the supply. The central bank controls the supply of foreign currency.
Supply, but they can't control the black market supply. So if the government doesn't release it, you'll find small boats coming in from Guyana and Barbados and all over the place, bringing in the currency.
Well, how much is then? The question is, how much is it worth? I've always found that the currency on the black market has always been 10% more than the stipulated price. So when it was $6.30, it was running at about 11%. It was $7. Now at $6.80, it tends to be at $7.50 unless you want large quantities. Then they try and squeeze you for 8 and 9. But usually, black market price, the taxi fellow who have some US to sell, he tends to give it to you for $7.50 at the moment. But there was a time when some major institutions were looking for currency to
Like if
purchase
you're selling
things.
yam or sweet potato, you're making a percentage on it.
Mm.
No difference, right?
Yeah, but I know there's a certain foreign used dealer who's has his own TV station who makes a lot of noise about this.
Yes, a fascinating chap. A fascinating.
Yeah, but
You have
he
me
have his own
laughing
TV
there.
station.
You
Yes.
have me laughing. Yes, you know he's a friend of mine. So yes.
I
He's a good chap
I
and
would
he
say he's a
treats a
friend.
lot of people.
He
So
he knows me.
we'll leave him right there.
I won't go too far to say he's my friend, but I mean he knows me. So thing, but I watch his Wednesday show and I model my stream after his great his programming. But the foreign exchange, so nobody. Well, hopefully, I don't think Mr. Imbert would devalue the currency. I don't think it served too much purpose at the current state of
It's
affairs.
not in anybody's best
Barbados, but Barbados has refused to devalue their currency over an extended period of time. I think over 40 years, and they've done that in order to maintain their strength in the operations of the tourism. But they've just refused to devalue it, and they seem to function. So the question would be, can we now start seriously bringing tourism into the system? Now, if we had done that earlier on, we would have in real trouble now because we'd had no oil and we've had no tourists for the year due to the COVID breakdown. So we're all sort of waiting. Those small islands opened up early because they literally had no currency. We still had gas going out and some petroleum at some point, but they had to open their borders to get their tourists back in to keep their operations going.
This is why our party, the NCT, had a strong focus in light manufacturing and food processing and agriculture, right? We had put our plans in place for this more than 10 years ago when we decided that certain areas for light manufacturing needed revitalization. Instead of saving money, open factories. Half the factories in Dabadi Omira and Arima are closed. We had huge textile industry in Arima, right? We made Wrangler jeans in Arima in my day and things like this. We made motor cars in Arima. We made Ford, Nissan, Chrysler. We had Roots Group in Dabadi Omira. We had Toyota in Las Lomas. Right?
You assembled cars in Arima.
We assembled cars. Yes, we assembled cars. It's added value. It's an added value input, right? We could buy all the parts for any car in the world. We could buy parts for Mercedes-Benz and make Mercedes-Benz in Trinidad and Tobago. We could buy all the parts for TVs. We made TVs in Nicoya, right? Yes, we assembled the TVs. We didn't make every single part of it. But the same thing applies on the
CTC Electronics. Yes, I remember them.
CTC, right? We made all our tin cans in Nicoya. So
metal
for
box.
Our food processing, we had metal box. You're right, Nigel. You have a good memory, right? So we had all these industries that have disappeared that have to come back. If we can't import tin cans in 4 years' time because we don't have the forex to bring in our tin of baked beans or whatever it is we want, or our tin of corned beef, we can make it right here. We're giving away our scrap metal to India, which we should be keeping here to make tin cans, right? A lot of things we have to change our modus operandi and our way of thinking, right? Keep the scrap metal, start small foundry practices, start canning companies, start small processing companies, and this is where we have to invest. The next budget should have a huge investment component. If we don't see that, I'll be very disappointed. I expect to be disappointed because the PNM doesn't have much foresight and has never exhibited this type of foresight. So I won't be surprised, but it is what is needed.
Shouldn't light manufacturing come specifically from the private sector? I mean, those are private sector companies you're talking about there.
Yeah,
exactly. Well, it has.
I think I lost you for the moment there.
Right? It's got to be done in two ways. You can have government involvement, right? Government can lease existing private sector properties from the private sector that have been underutilized for the past 30, 40 years, divide them up into manageable sizes, and then lease them to entrepreneurs. You've got more than 60 square miles of empty factory space in the center of Trinidad and Tobago, which is Arima, right? Endless factories which are absolutely, completely empty. In fact, well, one of them has been converted into a gang jail opposite Santa Rosa Heights, or Park, or whatever you call it, right? But those structures are sound. Nothing wrong with them. If they were to be utilized as business incubators, you've got acres of space that could be given to people to operate businesses inside of them to manufacture things. What we have to have is somebody to be a manager to facilitate the chopping up, if you like, or the distribution of these assets, which are basically frozen in time. They're just sitting there in fields, huge warehouses, huge factories, empty. You go inside there, you see a few pigeons, a few bats, and it's just wasted real estate. Billions of dollars of real estate. There could be as much as could be as much as $20 billion in real estate in my neighborhood, which is being wasted. Government has to step in sometime along the other and say, look, enough is enough, because the private sector hasn't utilized all this real estate effectively since the 80s.
I don't. Well, it's a department. I don't know if light manufacturing always seems to have been a problem here. I know CTC because I had a Sharp stereo, and I knew Metal Box because in the day there was two ways to get a soft drink: glass bottle with a crown cork on it, or a tin can. And the tin cans were tin cans. They weren't what they currently are now. And I don't know why Metal Box gave up the operation. And I don't know where they currently get their tins from now to tin the soft drinks and the beer. But I don't know. I'm actually looking to get rid of plastic bottles. I'm on the agenda for tinned water. I'm waiting to see the first person to come out with some tin water on the shelf, but it hasn't happened as yet. I see all the plastic bottles of water, but I want some tinned water.
I know you can do this.
I see paper cups, paper plates, are more being used, and you see it on the shelves in the groceries and whatnot now. I know of a particular company right now, they're looking to invest in one of those machinery to produce like paper cups locally, because I think that's the way things are going right now, to get rid of like Ceretex and plastics. More environmental.
I would like to see is bamboo leaves being used to make plates and to make cups. So we press bamboo leaf and make trays, make feeding leaves for people's prayers, make tablecloths out of bamboo leaf. Lots of these products are made in China and imported around the world as safe, environmentally conscious and environmentally friendly products. You can get bamboo straws, right, made out of bamboo leaf and pressed into the shape of a straw and what have you. So yeah, we can change our methodologies of manufacturing and use some of this space and use it more effectively. The government does have a role in the private sector. I'm not saying it doesn't, but I don't want them involved in the micromanagement of companies. I want them as a facilitator to provide the space for light manufacturing to take place, simply for people to have jobs and so people can make money. I'm fed up of seeing poor people all over the place and everybody's asking me for a $20. We want people to make their own $20.
You're a lucky man, because it has asked me for 100.
Well, you look far more auspicious than I do.
So you see, but let me just switch for a second here. What's the current status of the NCT? Has the political leader resigned and you've all called internal elections?
Definitely not. Right? The political leader of the NCT, as you know very well, is Nalini Dial, and she is still the political leader. The party chairman, Joel Ali, is currently recovering from stage 4 cancer, so he hasn't called the AGM as yet this year. So we did remarkably well when you consider the type of very ethnically biased campaign that took place in Arima and Dabadi Omira. It was a very charged campaign. So for two political lightweights to actually get any votes at all is a miracle in such a situation, where you have a largely uneducated population. It's not a sophisticated population like St. Augustine or any of the better neighborhoods. We're talking about the roughest crime area in Trinidad and Tobago, with the highest murder rate, Arima, and Nalini DL still got over 100 votes. That is a fantastic accomplishment, right? When you can get over 100 votes in Dabadi Omira as an independent, that's a fantastic accomplishment. When you consider the level of poverty that exists in these neighborhoods, Nigel and Joel, you have no idea until you walk the streets of these neighborhoods. 50% of these people still have latrines. A good 10% of them don't have electricity. A good 10% of them still cook on 3 stones in the backyard, right? We're not talking about a Valsine here, right, or Lange Park. It's a different deal when you go in the back of Karapo, or you go down the river in Mosika, or you go in the back of Samaru village, right? We're not. I mean, we were robbed in Malabar, and I mean, I make light of it. They stole my phone and what have you. We were robbed by 3 young bandits. But we have to remember, in these neighborhoods, there are very few opportunities for these poor young people.
Peter, did you get any press coverage for that? Did you inform the media that you were robbed?
I deliberately did not make this a press issue. I don't want to highlight what is negative about our society, right? It just victimizes the young people who are trapped in this vicious cycle of poverty, and I don't think that's the way for us to go. I think as a society, the way is to provide opportunities for these people to get out of this vicious cycle. I mean, I understand the mindset.
Hey, I didn't do anything. We lost Peter completely. I can see from the back end of the. So obviously wait, here he is. He's back. Nope, he's gone again. All right, Joel, you there? You're frozen as well. So I just watching myself now. So, hey, well, to our viewers here. Hey, Peter, we lost you there for a second, but you're back now. No, I thought I mean, you know, during the campaign, anything to get a press headline, to get free publicity, you think. So I would have grabbed hold of that and done my press release.
Well, we had many things that were very negative in our campaign. That's just one of the things. I mean, we had a crazy woman try to stop us from entering the office of the returning officer, pulled the car in front of us and pulled the bonnet of a car to make it look like we hit her from behind, you know. Of course, the security guard from UTT came out and she jumped back in her car and drove off. But we had all sorts of crazy incidents that you only see in silly season, right? There were many such incidents, Nigel. You actually have to actually go and canvass for yourself to actually see what happens at street level sometimes. Trying to leave the office of the returning officer on nominations day is another task. You have to run the gauntlet of music trucks and people dancing in the road, blocking the access or the entrance of the returning officer. So as an independent candidate, it can be extremely challenging in the more, or I should say, the less sophisticated neighborhoods in Trinidad and Tobago, where law and order is not really respected particularly by the two large ethnic parties, right? You have to remember that the voting populace of these parties usually comes from the lower end of the spectrum. These are people who are paid $100 to wave a flag, or $200 or whatever it is, I don't know. They get a free flag and a jersey and some rum to drink, and they think that's the greatest thing on the planet. And they don't understand that they're breaking every law under the sun and spreading COVID-19.
That's a lot more than 100. Huh? I think Joe had an adjustment there. I know they opened the T-shirt and they saw and they only saw maybe Joel heard about they had 2 T-shirts, so they got and again
Wow. You get 2.
No, but when
T-shirts?
something like that happens, usually you would imagine that on the campaign trail, you send out your press release and you give the police officer's name and stuff that you made the report to, so the media can confirm it and stuff, and you get your free headline.
You have to remember the police in Arima are part of the problem. That is why. Well, you have to understand the nature of the beast, right? 5 gangs control Arima, and Dabadi Omiran have been doing that for the longest while. The only way a gang can exist is with police protection. And that has always been the problem, right? Unless the government decides to do something about the gangs in Trinidad and Tobago, right, that will always be the problem.
Well,
I was actually invited to walk in certain streets because no one came, no other candidates came.
Oh.
And while I was walking, they walked with me, house to house.
So you say there's places that have not seen. There's places in Cuba North who did not see their candidates besides you. Then we lost him. Well, so anyway, my original question was Nalini DL has not resigned, so you will not be taking over the party leadership.
I wouldn't answer that question.
All right.
When you have that is for the party to decide at its annual general meeting.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
I think everybody is reasonably happy with our performance at the general election. One cannot expect a party which has a budget of $1,100, right, to their name, fielding 2 candidates, to do fantastically well.
Sorry, I was just handed a note and I was told I'm asking the wrong person. Joel, question was for you. Is it true that your political leader has resigned and you'll be running for political leader of your?
No, she has resigned.
Right.
She has resigned. They have selected Kirk Senef as the new PL until elections in November or December.
Right.
Yeah, so there is a lot of I think we can rethink a lot of things.
So
what happened in the election?
Kurt's acting political leader until the internal.
Yeah.
But was that covered? Did that come out in the press, or is that a secret?
No,
or did I miss it in the press?
To be honest with you, I have only seen it on Facebook.
Right.
I've only seen it on Facebook. I'm not sure if they sent it out to press yet. But this was done last weekend. So actually no, it was on CMC3. Yeah, it was a post on CMC3. I think it was.
The post on CMC3. Okay, I must have missed that. I missed that then. So okay. All right. So,
yeah.
I think things moving along then. All right. Because I was
asked to be deputy, but not right.
No, you're not ready. Well, I suppose the next question. But the next question to stem us forward is: there's 4 by-elections coming up. Point Fortin, Chaguanas, Arima, and I think there's one in Diego Martin, because the four councillors, the PNM councillors and one UNC have been promoted up to Member of Parliament. Vandana Mohit, Sion Nobrega in Diego Martin. I don't remember the Point Fortin and the Arima one, but there's some by-elections coming up. Anybody, NCT, you first, then maybe over to the COP. Will there be any candidates going up, or is screening open?
We have screened candidates for the Morris lady's position. She was the former mayor of Arima, and we have had screening already for that particular seat. So we have shortlisted a number of people who are interested, and very, very, very shortly you will see us release the name of the person who will be contesting that seat on behalf of the NCT.
Right.
So yes, we have interest in running for that particular seat in Arima.
And I think we're not going to Diego Martin, Point Fortin, and Chaguanas.
Believe it or not, we have a lot of support in South. We have a lot of party members who are actually from the Gulf View area. So when it comes down to it, there may well be a surprise with another nominee. But we're keeping our cards very close to our chest right now, Nigel. We'll have a press release when we are ready. But for the most, it will be one or two positions at the local government level. We're not we're not a party that is full of funding from CCP or various business sectors in Trinidad and Tobago. So we have to be very careful where we spend it.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Well, the question is loaded, because it follows up on eventually afterwards, of course, that well, I don't think anyone's going for THA, which is due in January. That's Tobago House of Assembly. But is anyone plotting and planning to move forward into the 2022 local election, and what thing? So I mean, in the process of things to come, I mean, given COVID and everything else, we have two years and a little bit afterwards for our next full-scale election, national election in Trinidad for the local government. And I suppose the question is, are you all planning, or have you got your strategy in place for the next 27 months, I think it is, for the next local?
Yeah, 2 years, two years and a couple of months. Yeah, we're looking at the local government coming up, and we have a number of young people, considerably younger than myself, who would be interested in going up for the position of councillor. We need young, dynamic people. I mean, let's face it, we know what needs to be done, and we know what needs to be done at the level of the Municipal Corporations Act also. If the Municipal Corporations Act is not fixed, though, at the central government level, it really hamstrings local government. We need to be able to give them more funding so they can make the changes at the local level. And we have to attract people to be councillors. Now, councillors get very, very little money. They get about $6,000 a month, which is ridiculous for that level of management that they have to deal with. But unfortunately, it doesn't. People don't become councillors for the $6,000 a month. They're looking to assist their friends with contracts and kickbacks from contracts. That is a big part of the problem with local government. But local government on the whole is not properly funded. The Municipal Corporations Act is such that you don't get the type of works done that are needed in the communities. There's no responsibility for the councillors to provide pavement and simple things like that under the Act. So what we have to look at are putting up people who will do it, but not for the money. They will do it for the advancement of their community. These people are pretty hard to find. A lot of people have agendas other than their country and other than their community. But we are looking at 2 years down the road who we can get and doing some screens. very, very careful screening of our people. You'll find people who look at the NCT tend to be have an intellectual bent of some sort. They're not your average councillor or mayor, your average policeman, school teacher, what have you. Some of these people will have advanced degrees in physics or chemistry or what have you. So we are a different party in that respect. We're more right-wing in terms of our capitalist ideology. We are more intellectual in terms of our educational policy, and we're looking for something that is more developmental in terms of our local government policy.
So I take it you're not going back up again.
I have never run for local government, so there's no question of going back up again. I have never run for local government. I've run for the Democratic Development Party. At the time, I was the political leader of that party when I ran last time. When on nominations day, I was not the political leader, but 2 days afterwards, I was nominated as political leader. So I took over the head of that party 5 years and a month ago, and then I shelved the Democratic Development Party to join with Namini Dial so that we could have a side-by-side platform of 2 constituencies in East Central Trinidad and Tobago. So we would honour everywhere from Blanchisseuse to the Caroni River collectively. It made sense to have a coalition, and the only party that offered coalition politics at that time was the NCT. The manifesto of the NCT is such that it is open to any form of coalition, whereas none of the other parties have this established as a constitutional fact or a constitutional entity.
When you say you mean coalition, but you also mean accommodation, because some of the operations for the last general, I know there was no accommodation with PEP. PEP went and stuck their nose in everybody else's business and everybody else's. But once they had a candidate, they put up anybody in any seat. But they certainly stepped on a lot of feet, because I was aware of the Diego Central situation, where the parties obviously did not consult and think, because they had 6 candidates on the ballot for that one.
Yeah, that was quite a mess. That was most interesting. Yeah, there was no consideration. Yeah.
To hear that the NCT has at least something to do with the coalition or accommodation is very glad to hear that. I didn't know it's constitutionally informed into the organization, though.
It is. Right, it's part of the organization. So it's something that you will find in no other party, right? We're the only party that openly accepts any other party, right, to join with them to do any sort of transformation. And that was the whole concept of building the NCT. The first chairman, you probably gathered, was an attorney at law when he set up this thing. That was a chap called Monroe Brown, Kenneth Monroe Brown, right? And he understood the whole concept of making, like you said, making accommodations, making alliances, strength through coalition, and using other people's strengths. So he saw that as a way forward. Joel Ali, who took over after him as the party chairman, he also furthered that strength. And I'm currently acting as interim chairman of the party, trying to engage the same type of coalition. It's difficult with the far left parties like the MSJ because they don't understand capitalism, and they don't understand the idea of investment politics and return on investment and investing in people. They just learn. They're all they're interested in a budget is what they get from it, what they get from it, what they get from it. So it is difficult to deal with the far left parties, but we try. But we do have it built into our constitution to make an accommodation with them should they want to come on board.
Okay. So have you all spoken to the other entities? I mean, let's start with the upcoming by-elections. Has anyone started talking to each other, or is it just nobody talking? Because at least, okay, let me rephrase the question. During the general election, and as I said, having 6 candidates in Diego Martin Central, obviously, the impression the public got was that the political leaders were not talking to each other or accommodating each other, given how things looked at the time being. So maybe a smaller operation, the upcoming by-election, a smaller operation is the next local election. Do you expect we could probably see more focus in terms of the what I call the alternate parties? Because as far as I'm concerned, the PNM and the UNC are the same party. So you all aren't third parties, you're second parties. You're just the alternative to you're the alternative to the UNC and the PNM. Do you think those parties will come together or speak more vigilantly coming up to the next by-election, coming up to the next local election, in a step forward going towards 2025? Sorry, 2025.
It is very important that we do that, because considering what happened with this election, we have to understand that general public they're not interested in the 3 and 4 different parties, like the external parties or additional parties, third parties, right? They want to see a united front. They want to see that united front, and unless we give them a united front and we show that we are a viable third choice, third option, there will not be a third party in government. There will not. It's going to come back to what happened in
Alternative.
this election. You might get some alternative. Sorry, it's going to come back to It's going to come back to what happened, and we're going to get some votes, but we will not get enough to make a real impact. But we have to talk. We have to sit down and talk. We have to support each other, right? Entity, if it is COP not running, and I'm pretty sure we probably are not, right? I mean, I offer myself. I will walk with you, right, in support of you and your party, right? This is me. Say that you just tell me when and where, I will come and walk with you, right? And this is me taking the first step.
Peter, you have to turn on your mic. It muted it.
That's very magnanimous of you, Joel. I will have to take you up on that. Thank you very much. We have always been open to that type of politics. In fact, if you know, both Nalini Dial and myself originally came out of the COP. When the nonsense started within the COP, that is when we had to stand aside, because we had a higher standard of ethical behavior than existed at the time within the COP. When we saw the nonsense, you to come back. I mean, I was invited
we are rebuilding, and we're changing. We start making a lot of changes from the top come down.
And it was an option, actually, to have gone with the COP. We were looking at going under the COP umbrella. At the last general election, we had talks with Karensi Prasad Bachan, and we met with her in Currap at the party's office.
And
we had reasonably fruitful talks. I think we were about, a millimeter away from making a deal and having a coalition at that time. Right, we were very, very close, but it just didn't come together. It wasn't anything that I had said or done. I just think that at that time, it simply didn't work out for whatever reason. But the COP and the NCT manifesto and vision and mission and all the rest of it are very, very similar.
Okay.
In fact, if you look at all of them together, The only difference is that our party has a clear-cut stake in coalition politics. That's the only difference with our party and the rest of them. We were the one who made the model, if you like, or the pattern for it to happen, but we simply weren't able to attract enough people to come into it. One of the biggest problems in Trinidad, of course, is the ethnic divide. You find people of one group or another who are afraid of another group, and the fear sometimes keeps people away. Sometimes you find the less educated of a particular ethnic group might be afraid of you, and they don't want to take that chance. They don't understand your politics. It might be a little scary to them. And sometimes you have to make it simple and make it real for them to understand it. And that is the problem with making deals. You have to explain to, I don't know, I could use an example. I could use a very poor example would be MSJ. Last time we talked on this station, and I mentioned that we were right-wing politics. He thought we meant far right. He thought we were like neo-Nazis or Ku Klux Klan or something like that, you know. And so we have to tread very, very lightly when we're looking at coalition politics, who we join with, and how we make our entrance, because not everybody has this perspective.
What's the status of Better United, Joel? If you don't happen to know, what's the status of Better United? Because my experience with Better United is that it was on Wednesday night on Gael. And of course, after the election, I expected them to be there when it sort of wraps up or goes direction. And there was nothing like United, so I don't know if paused or if they've paused or if they plan to come back on board with the operation per se. So the question was, is there been any indication that Better United will be continuing onward, or still later on in the process? I mean,
our way forward is to unite all third parties if we could. That is our way forward. It is the only way forward, right? Better United is they tried for this election. It didn't turn out the way that they would have liked. They had some coalitions with some arrangements with a couple parties, but it wasn't what they would have hoped for to achieve clearly. And but I know that Better United is no way out the window. It is our direction forward. Again, together, if we come together, we could have a 41. Let's say next election, right? Let's use next election.
That's the way to go.
We could have 41. We could put up 41 candidates next time on that Better United. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, we that is our direction. Our direction is to unite the party. We have no way, none of us, I believe, could really take it by ourselves.
True. That is the way to go. That is the desired way to go. We were unlucky that we could not attract enough people or the right type of funding. Now, I don't know where these parties get their funding from. I'm not going to pretend I have an idea, but if we could put together 41 candidates, we know we could get the funding. That's what happened with Michaela Pandey. If she could have gotten the 41 candidates, but is getting the funding to go with it.
Well, so she did say she had 41, but we don't know who that 41 person was.
True.
If she had 41.
True, she could have been bluffing.
All right.
Could well have been
a bluff.
Yeah.
I have a very strange issue with Michaela. Michaela Pandey let me see if I can remember right. It was May of 2018. She had a town meeting or something. It was May of 2019 she did something, and then it was May of this year she got on board again. she seems to have a summer program because I don't hear from her the rest of the 11 months of the year. I hear her press releases and her meetings are usually they were in May, and that's how it came about. But I didn't get the impression Michaela has a great infrastructure behind her or a solid team. I know she opened screening for all 41 constituencies, but I know it didn't happen at the end of the day. So, but politics is not a 9 to 5 job. It's 24/7 and it's 365 a year. So I mean, I think she has to double down on her time and her operations because I hear more from other places than I do, and then eventually when the time comes, when election comes around, like I haven't heard from the NCT for a long time, but I knew it was there. I was aware of its presence, and then when they launched with candidates, I said, okay, well, good for them. That's the way to go. But as far as the Patriotic Front goes, they launched, they run their operation and stuff. Same thing happened with AOI, Alliance of Independence. Gary got his job. Nicole Dyer hasn't said very much, and it went into the dormancy that it was. We don't know if they'll come back out and they'll run the operation. So we're eager to see, what happens between elections, which is very important in terms of running general operations and having people know that you're still functional. Because I mean, people. The trolls have everything derogatory to say about anything that's done outside of the two-party system. And the continuous operation of it going on will be there. I would tell you, I don't know if Kurt is open to suggestion, but I'd say he should do a little 60-second, maybe 120-second, 2-minute video saying that he has been appointed the the acting political leader of the COP for a while, and let's post that out there a little bit and make it news because again, what happens is if we don't run our operations solidly between elections, there's no way we're going to win the vote during the election. So I would tell Kurt to call Errol Fabian and tell Kurt to come on here and we'll interview him and give him a little airtime and see what comes of the operation because Better United should continue on a Wednesday night ongoing through Christmas and Easter and all the holidays. I mean, if you got Wednesday night on Gael and we know to tune in on a Wednesday night, we're going to tune in. Not provoking Peter's good friend from the other station, Foreign News car dealer. His big program on a Wednesday night. But you had to fight for the audience. You had to fight for the audience. But we got Wednesday night on Gael. We got Wednesday night on Gael, and I think we should continue and stick to it because I mean,
But Peter, I will tell you this, huh? I will tell you this. We can't wait till a year before election, or 6 months before election, or 2 years before election to form this unity. This has to happen now. We have to do this now.
This year. You have to have 41 candidates this year.
What's that?
We have to put together 41 candidates this year.
Yeah, no.
Form a coalition with 41 candidates this year. Right?
Yeah, and collectively find that funding. Right? Collectively find that funding. Collectively form plans.
The funding will come to you.
Yeah, to create that visibility from now all the way to the next election, even for local election, right? Even together we could fight local election together rather than apart. True. It could be the first step going forward. So that way, local election, you can sort out any little kinks that, any little issues and things going forward toward the general election, we can sort it out. And when it comes down to the general election, we should be a better, well-tuned, unified party.
Even when it comes to canvassing, it's better to canvass where you have more than one candidate, even if it's not from that district, when they're together to show some sort of unity. It's also better to canvass with a political leader and work together with others. Coalition politics always works out better in the long run. Now, if you notice something, even the UNC has not won without a coalition partner, right? They've always had additional people to make up the numbers. They have never been able to infiltrate into certain neighborhoods. They have always had additional people to make up the numbers. They have never been able to infiltrate into certain neighborhoods. They have never been able to infiltrate into certain neighborhoods. They have never been able to infiltrate into certain neighborhoods. and get any sort of traction. The last time they got any traction was with the People's Partnership, with the COP. Otherwise, they cannot get to that Marxist-Leninist cult that is the PNM in Arima and places like that. I mean, we went up to Mont-la-Croix, which is the tiny village that joins the two mountain ranges in the northern range, which has a population of just over 100, where people still live the very simple life, nothing wrong with that, right? But you see people who have no transport to get out of there. They stopped the school bus up there 5 years ago when Dr. Rowley came into office. They have no school bus. They bathe by the standpipe still. These people have no running water in their houses, right? They have no cooking gas for their food and so on. But they would come outside and wave the PNM flag like their life depended on it. They have no jobs, right? They have no schools. They have no health center, but they're PNM. This is what you are up against. It's almost impossible to infiltrate. You have to actually target the 60% in the constituency who do not vote. Now, the intelligentsia don't vote. The rich don't vote. They're not going to line up. The people who live in the middle-class neighborhoods don't come out at all to vote, right? So if you tackle these people and give them something which is different than what the PNM or the UNC offers, something that will interest them in getting back into voting, then you have a chance as a third force in Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah. I have some ideas and I would like to share, but we need to come together.
Now I have to come offline now. I'm being called to do something. But it's been great joining you on this interesting chat show. And thank you very much, Nigel Barry Mahabir, for inviting me to talk again. And thank you very much, Joel Ramdani, for inviting me to join in coalition with you with the COP. It's been a pleasure.
And don't forget me, and I will walk with you.
Thank you, sir. I would be proud to walk with you.
Excellent.
Always part of our culture to embrace our fellow up-and-coming politicians and enjoy what they have to give to the country. New ideas. Yeah. Young people are the savior of Trinidad and Tobago. We need more bright young people like you.
Not just young people. We need the experience. The experience.
You need a balance. You need a balance, but we really need a lot more young people. We have enough experienced people, I think, but we need a lot young. Joel, we need a slate of young people. I wouldn't lie to you. We need people who are thinking of jobs that have yet to be created.
Yeah.
We need people who can handle change better than anything else. Old people can't handle change. The young can handle change, and society is going to change so much in the next 4 years. We don't know what it looks like. We cannot predict what it will look like in 4 years' time. Well, thank you, gentlemen. We will do that.
Well, Joel, I won't keep you too much longer. We can coax any of our previous bunch to come on board tonight. But is there anything you want to tell us? You want to tell us anything about Cougar North? You want to tell us what's going on in the raid? I heard you said Point Lisa is down to 40% capacity. Any events going on there? Anything you want to think? Which road have a pothole? Which area need water? You want to canvas for any just for the public record indicate any problems they're currently having in Cougar North?
Right now, what I want to see happen mostly is our waterways need cleaning. Right, rain is falling, and rain will fall for. I mean, I know we're getting some weird rain spells lately, but drains need to clean, waterways need to clear for this water to flow out. Places getting flooded within like 15-20 minutes of if I could get the corporation to come in and actually do some work and clear these waterways, a lot of people houses and things going to be saved, and and property, less property damage and whatnot. So that is my main priority right now. If I could get that happen, that would be awesome. But I actually saw the corporation started doing some work in the area.
Okay.
Yeah, they actually started doing some work in the area, not in terms of clearing the waterways, but like just basic cleaning up stuff and picking up like grass on the side of the road and whatnot. I think I haven't seen that in a while, which is a good thing. So
After the election.
after election, yeah. So I'm hoping that that's a sign to come that things look a little better in the next 5 years coming up here. So we can only hope for the best. We can only hope for the best. And
Any you want to name the river? Any river in particular? Any water course in particular?
I can't give any names right now, boy.
There's a few of them, yeah. I know the one. I know the water course just north of Estonia, and there's one by Orange Valley that comes out.
The one that really where the flooding occurs is really that comes out from Orange Field all the way down to Korea Village. That's one.
Korea there.
That river that needs clearing, and then the drains around the village, around Korea Village, need clearing. From the time rainfall, all the water is collected over there. All the water is collected there, and then start to flow into people's property because the drains. I actually went there on the day before, like the Saturday before election, and it had flood. It actually literally had water in people's property because the drain itself was not clear to channel the water out. So it just there, and it's about a 1-day work for excavator, and the thing could fix it. But we need people who care to actually come and do it. But after election, I went back and it still didn't happen. So someone asked me, so how come I didn't do it, right? I say, well, I would like to do it, but I don't have the funding like other parties. I didn't spend millions of dollars in campaign financing. We could have taken that same $1 million and rent an excavator and clear it because they want the seat. Right? If I had an excavator, I would have done it, right? But this is what we do.
I have one or two people I know in Orange Field Road. So I'll put you in touch with them. But the village council in the area is supposed to make brass for that as well. Yeah. Anybody in the area, any activists in the area calling for it?
I haven't seen anyone made any efforts in terms of bringing light in.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? Who's the councillor for that for Orangefield Korea Village?
No, I can't remember his name. He actually lives in Orangefield. I know where he lives, but I can't remember his name.
The one they always calls Alan Taxi C Prasad. He just been there forever.
He is by me.
Right, he's from Brickfield all the way through Orange Valley down to Cuba on that side. I know his
his area. Cover that zone, but there's another one for Caribbean going all the way up to Shogunas. Yeah,
right.
So Alan Taxi is for the Brickfield area. I know it's not him who has been doing the job right now. I more think it's like PNM.
He's deputy in the corporation. He's vice chairman.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll make a little. Well, I know one or two areas in the area. People here. Tiger is one, and Rakib Mohammed is another. That's my Orange Field contacts there. So they were ex-Carney workers are campaigning for their visa packages out of Carney during the partnership and during this thing. So that's how I know them through there. So I'll put you through to them and hear what they have to say in terms of the operation. Maybe we could make a little mass burn a tire or block a road, you know, get something done.
Yeah, if it comes to that, I mean, definitely something that I was thinking about doing, right? I just
Right.
was just waiting to give it a little time. After election,
Mm.
I don't want it to look too obvious, you know.
We
But
we 20,
I
20 12 days after election. That's a good time for them.
it's good time for it. Yeah. No, I needed to catch back up on some work. After
Mm.
election, I've been busy. Today was the worst. You know, I literally ate lunch 5 o'clock this evening. You know, trying to help out our family. So,
All right.
but yeah. You know, as soon as that time you get back in line with things and you have that free time again, is definitely to go back out there and to try and see as much as I could get done. You know, so it's a lot of things I'm actually putting in place going forward. And a
Mm-hmm.
lot, things that I'm putting in place going forward because I still haven't given up. No way, no how, super not, right? Although I will not be in government, I'm not the councillor, I'm not MP or anything. I'm just the representative in COP under governor. There's a lot of things I still plan to get done, you know, and I'm actually putting together my things to get the funding and whatnot to get these things done. And it's a process, like anything, it's a process. But to get there, I will get there.
No problem. All right, man. I'll let you go.
Yep.
And I know we don't have a proper schedule every Saturday or every Wednesday, or every Tuesday or something. I'll probably try and get something scheduled properly so we get a little more regular. It looks like it's every 10 days or every 12 days now. So I'll let you know what's happening. I'll give you a day or two advance warning.
Excellent.
All right, man, Joe. You keep good.
Thank you for having me.
And to all the viewers out there, next back time, next back channel. Don't forget. Later, man. And we're out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Out. Oh.